You are now tuned in to the Chaotic Culture Podcast.
It's the KKP on your mother flipping airways. Hear the name ringing through the halls and the stairways. You were listening to a pod that can segue. All the latest topics guaranteed to fill your headspace. It's a safe place to voice your opinion. Say what you feel just like you're a kid again. Kid to pro and friends, black as obsidian. Chaotic culture, that's the world we living in. So what's the word?
And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and happy new year. Welcome to another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast, the pod where chaos rules and black culture is elevated and embraced. Once again, guys, we just appreciate you for joining us. It has been a minute. Again, I know we usually take a break on the Christmas holidays, and of course, with everything going on, we had to, readjust some things, but we are back here. We are back live. And of course, we are here for your personal entertainment. So if you've never heard about the Chaotic Culture Podcast before, this podcast will deep dive into modern black culture and how millennials and Gen Z can navigate crazy parts from finances, music, black business highlights, home ownership, HBCU, sports, black nerdom, anime, wrestling. If it encompasses black culture, we are going to cover it. So live from the 757, I am the host and the creator of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. This is your boy, Ked the Pro, a.k.a. the Calculator Millennial, the Cutlass Diamond, a.k.a. the Encore Presentation. Now, can I get an encore? Do you want more? A.k.a. your favorite toxic adjacent king. The 843 is me, but VA is where I stay. Always chaotic, never toxic most days. Back again, once again, with your favorite black culture highlights and black culture shenanigans. We got a great episode ahead of us today, but before we get to it, we got to introduce the host and our special guest. So, of course, starting with the queen herself, Miss Nasa, please go ahead and introduce yourself, ma'am.
Good morning. Hi, everyone. I hope all is well. It's your girl, Nasa, a.k.a. Tony Noir, a.k.a. Nakaso, a.k.a. good vibes only, and welcome to the station, baby. I hope everybody is having a wonderful morning. Everybody is having a blessed morning, and yeah, how's everybody doing?
Yeah. I can't complain. It ain't gonna do me no good no way. But we here, we live, and it's just good to see all of y'all's beautiful faces, even though we can't see Nasa's at the moment. But it's good to see all y'all beautiful faces. There we go. Hey. But yes, indeed. I definitely just appreciate everybody being here because we went through some things in December, but we back here and we just ready to get started. So of course, the other host joining us today, all the way from Texas, a.k.a. the Menace from Texas, and other nicknames that he has. Scuba Steve, please go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It is Scuba Steve. I'm a little under the weather today, so doing this from my phone. So if I sound a little crazy, it is what it is. But yeah, man, it's me, Scuba Steve, the Instant Negator, a.k.a. Scholar's dad or whatever, a.k.a. I wore the same cosplay and cosplay two different characters. How y'all doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Again, joining us for another Muzik Roundtable is, of course, One Piece Leek from the Worst Generation Podcast. Good sir, please go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Yo, what up? It's One Piece Leek of the Worst Generation Podcast. So happy to be back for another Muzik Roundtable. Last time I think I was here for the TDE Roundtable, and I said some somewhat controversial things about some people's favorite artists, but I can't promise I won't do anything worse this time because I have some strong feelings about some of these albums. So see how this goes.
Here we go. But it's good to have you back, Leek, man. As always, we appreciate your controversial takes. And again, joining us for another Chaotic Culture episode. I'm not sure if this is his first Muzik Roundtable or not, but either way, I definitely wanted to bring back another Hamptonian as well as a Dreamville head. Obviously, he's from North Carolina. And as always, he gives some great intellect and, of course, always has funny jokes as well. So coming from the Truth and Transparency Pod, of course, we have Brother X. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Man, I appreciate it, man. You up here talking like a good preacher, man. I appreciate you. But yeah, it's your boy Brother X from the Truth and Transparency Podcast, where we talk openly and honestly about everything in between, why people can't get right in 2024. Just blessed to be a part of it, man. I know last time me and Ked talked some music, some doors got open, some people got in their feelings, and yeah, I don't think we could ever talk about TDE anymore on my podcast.
Oh man, yeah, I remember that. Definitely open some doors and some funny moments. So with that, before we get started, as always, we just like to do a mental health check just to be sure that everybody's doing good and everybody's doing great. As I've said, with my mental health, of course, there were some things that happened in December. And if you had listened to the Christmas episode, that you would know, of course, that my grandmother passed away. So dealing with that was completely different for the Christmas holidays. Not having any grandparents around is very, very strange. But still, I'm thankful and I'm blessed. And she did live a long and blessed life. And I just appreciate all the love and support that everybody, including the people on this pod, have shown me through that tumultuous time. And again, my Christmas was very quiet, but it needed to be for good reason. So that being said, mental health right now is I'm okay. I've been better, but I'm okay. And I think that's really the most important thing. And then when I get my situation together, of course, I will have a sit down with my therapist about, the things that have happened in the last few months, especially at the end of 2023, because that ending to that year was not good by any stretch. But again, alive, breathing, and I'm thankful to be here. Does anybody else want to talk about their health real quick?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Let me not be rude. I got some home training.
Oh no, you are good. Go ahead. You can go ahead.
Nah, I wanted to piggyback off of what Kid said. I just want to say first and foremost, my condolences, man. Listeners, for those who don't know, I think it's been over a year now, but right around the Christmas holiday time, I had lost my father maybe like a week or so before Christmas, 2022. And yeah, I get it. It's a tough thing, man. I like to explain to people when people ask how you doing. It's like sometimes some moments are lighter than others, and you just gotta ride the wave and feel your feels, which is really hard to do a lot of times. I still struggle with it, but I definitely sympathize with what you're going through, man. And you still are in my thoughts and prayers. But honestly, for me, the holidays they're a little bit better. It's the first like full year since everything, so I'm in a better place than I was back at work. I'm a school teacher when I'm not podcasting, so trying to mold young minds, and it's always interesting coming back from break, seeing where kids are, trying to be that positive male role model for them. So it takes a lot of mental energy, and then trying to find that other mental energy for yourself. So it's one of those things that I try to work through, but grateful for another day, grateful for another opportunity, grateful to be around great people, man.
Cool, man. Hey, again, my condolences. I know it's been over a year, but definitely, man, you're always in my thoughts and prayers as well. Because again, losing a family member, especially over the holidays or close to the holidays, is never a good feeling. It's never a good feeling in general, but you really especially feel it when it's around the holiday where you're surrounded by family and you celebrate each other and whatnot, and just having them not there is a different feel. So I definitely understand your plight, sir. So again, if you ever need anything, it's just a matter of hitting me up and just let me know. We here we about 3 hours apart. So anything that you need, I will be down there faster than you can blink. Speaking of which, we'll get to that other conversation in a second about being in the Raleigh-Durham area. But Steve,
Man, I'm a little sick right now, but I'm good. Everybody knows in December I kind of take that little hiatus because of the same thing as you guys. I lost my brother like 4 years ago, and I just usually take a hiatus in December. Then after coming off that hiatus, they took the kids to Disney World and they broke my pocket. So mentally, I'm not there right now. They got me for 15 bands, man. Mickey is a criminal. I don't like it. Man.
Listen, but I already know one person at Disney's already expensive as hell like that. And you at least having 1 or 2 G's, or maybe at the most 3 just for one person. But 15, yeah, that's at least the kids enjoyed it, man. That's the important thing.
Yeah, they better.
We spent
Yeah,
we
because
spent 6 before we got on the plane, man. That shit was
wow,
not good.
Damn.
It was not good. But yeah, man,
yikes.
other than that, it was, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm good now. I just, out of nowhere, I got like headaches and stuff like that, but I think I'm fine. I should be fine.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Miss Nasa.
Mental health wise, I am okay. I'm steady. Kind of piggybacking off of what you said, KJ. I've had better days. My Christmas was very quiet. My New Year's was very quiet, and I actually appreciated the fact that it was quiet. I kind of actually appreciated that the New Year's was kind of quiet. Nothing too crazy. And I don't know if it's just me, but the day of New Year, I could feel there was like a kind of like a shift the next day. And I don't know if it's like a spiritual shift or just like an energetic shift. But I could feel like there was definitely a different, the world is going to be moving into a different space. And then with that being said, I've also kind of just made like the decision that though societally, I guess you could say that, New Year's is on the 1st, I'm definitely going to start having my New Year's happen in March, since that is the month of spring.
Mm-hmm.
And since everything is blooming and everything is, coming up and coming alive, I feel like that is the most appropriate time to really start doing like New Year's resolutions and, being in this, preparing for a space of more abundance, since it's spring and, we're all blooming. So yeah, like mental space is steady. And I think I'm just taking this time to just like really prepare and evaluate and rest until spring, until I'm able to like completely flourish how I want to flourish.
Hey, take all the time that you need, do what you got to do, and use that springtime to, set out the goals that you have for yourself. I think that is very important that you have, set that standard for yourself, and that you are ready to, go to that next stage whenever the spring comes around. So we are just looking forward to see what you have in store. And I do hope that things come to fruition during that time. Leek, what's going on, man?
Mentally, I can't complain. I've been better, I've been worse. I do feel like for whatever reason, this specific winter has been more physically draining for me for whatever reason. Like I feel more tired than I usually am, which is kind of weird. But I'm trying to get outside more, get some sunlight, while trying to avoid being around a bunch of people, because I feel like everybody is feeling under the weather lately, and I'm trying to super avoid that. But I'm definitely looking forward to spring coming, with it being greener outside, being warmer outside. Because I don't know, this winter just felt very, very, very weird for whatever reason. But I mean, we're in a new year as far as the calendar wise, so I'm trying to embrace it and accomplish stuff, get everything in order for this year to come around. So I want to be more productive this year. So that's my mind space going into this new year.
Hey, sounds good, man. Sounds good. I'm kind of like you. I'm also looking forward to the spring, even though I typically get sicker in the spring than I do in the winter. Because allergies, obviously, the pollen is not my friend. Especially in Virginia. But I typically enjoy the warmer weather, and of course I am a spring baby. But yeah, I definitely feel that 100%. This winter so far has been kind of like but I know technically winter just started not too long ago. It just, it's just got a weird vibe to it this whole season. So hopefully when springtime rolls around, things will be on the up and up. So with that, I think we've gotten everybody. So ladies and gentlemen, of course, we're going to move on to the next thing, which is, of course, the Muzik Roundtable. Now, again, we are covering an entire label, and we are only going to be covering the albums that were dropped under that specific imprint. You know, we can't cover any projects that happened outside of that. So there are certain artists, of course, who we may not get to their entire discography, only the albums that have dropped with that particular imprint being associated with it. So just to go over the rules again, because I know it's been a while since we've done a Muzik Roundtable for everybody. I know that we did one at the beginning of the season, obviously, but it's time for us to that was more of a tournament. So now we are going to be doing an actual ranking system again, which it's been a minute. It has been a minute since we've done one of these. I'm trying to think, the last one that we did was that Kirk Franklin? I want to say that it was, but in any case, we'll go over the Muzik Roundtable rules. So for Muzik Roundtable, albums and projects are graded on a letter grade scale between S and F, with S being superior or classic, A being great or excellent, B being good, C being mid, D for dud, F for flop. For this tier maker specifically, EPs under 6 songs will have its own category and will be placed in order of best to worst. When determining grades, all participants should consider the following: composition and structure, lyrics, subject matter, production, vibe, and overall impact of the album on society. Graders can give their honest opinion about a project, but just consider all factors when giving a project its proper placement. Majority rules for grades on an album and their placement as far as ranking. However, if there is a disagreement on a certain album, the grades will be broken down into actual points, and the average point total will determine the ranking for that album. At the end, if multiple albums are in a ranking class and the order from greatest to least cannot be determined, the point system will also come into play to determine the correct order. The points are allocated on a college level college level grade point scale. God damn, excuse my language. With S rank being anything over 100. So with that in mind, S rank is, of course, from the grades 100 to 110, and A is 90 to 99. A B is 80 to 89. A C is 70 to 79. D is 60 to 69, and an F is a 59 and below. S rank will be capped at 110 to avoid any point disadvantages. So those are your rules. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns about them?
Nope.
There being none, I think we can go ahead and get started. So what I'm also going to do here is share my screen so that way everybody can see the actual tier maker itself. If you're watching this on the video, whether it be on Patreon or when I post this to YouTube, of course, you get the opportunity to see that as well. So let us go ahead and get started. First, I'm going to ask if everybody can see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Looks good to me.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so when it comes to this, the first artist that we got to tackle is the only artist on here that has only dropped one project, and that project could not be found on any streaming services. You actually had to go to YouTube to listen to it, or if you got a special site, it is what it is. But the first one is, I believe, Elephant Ears by Omen. And I just want to hear if you have listened to it, if you have any thoughts about this.
I guess I'll kick it off. that was the first one I actually went to when you first sent me the list. Like you said, I had to go do a little bit of searching, but once I started listening to it, I'm very much a fan of it. Omen is one of the people from the Dreamville label that I hadn't known a lot about prior to getting into the label and being more of a fan now. But it really gave me almost, when I started listening to it, and maybe I'm off, but it gave me like old school, like the Roots type vibe, like some of the instrumentation that they use kind of like gave me like really good vibes. And I think it is as a sense for like the label in general, and I'll probably get into it later. I think it's just, you just have natural vibe music where you can chill, get hyped to. But I think just all in all, there's never like anything bad about the music. It may just not be my favorite. Like for me, I would put it in the C category, not because it's bad, but I just have a high opinion of most artists on the label.
That's fair. Anybody else want to talk about this?
Me personally, I haven't heard this album, so
okay.
I'm gonna have to abstain from it.
Did not listen. All right.
I listened to it earlier. He actually, like Malcolm said, he's not an artist that I actually listened to before you sent this list. Like, he's one of the artists that you would see on like a Dreamville track, and I'm like, oh, who is that?
That's very fair. Nasa, just to clarify, did you get a chance to listen to this?
I actually have not gotten the chance to listen to Omen. Though I am familiar with his work, I did not get a chance to listen to this particular.
And you know what? That's not a problem. That's not a problem. So, it comes down to me then, and I think I agree that this does belong in the C tier. It is a very good project, very solid project. It's not something that I don't think I'll ever come back to. But that being said, I was pleasantly surprised with the production value on this album. And if you know you're not familiar with Omen, again, this is the only project that he's actually dropped under Dreamville, and you may hear him a couple times, like as a feature, or maybe even background vocals on certain artists' projects within Dreamville. So I would say that he feels more like that in-house artist, like, okay, we need Omen on this to give out this kind of vibe and whatnot. But in the album itself, it does give you that old school roots feel. It does give you that that sit down and smoke to vibe if you are, into that. But is it, like one of the greatest projects ever? Not necessarily. Is it a bad project by any straits? Absolutely not. So I think it fits right in the middle. Elephant Eyes does, fit into that C tier. So I think, what's up?
Oh, I was going to say one other thing I was going to say about it is I love the reference, and we'll get to one of the other projects, but I love like the whole basketball analogy. He's like that good situational role player that you don't play him. Doesn't get consistent minutes, but when you put him in, he does his job, he shows up, and he goes home. At least that's how I feel about him.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. He's a very valued role player, for especially for Dreamville. Okay, so we have decided that Elephant Eyes will go into the C tier. Nasa, I'm going to skip the next artist because I kind of want to save him for not last, but next to last, as far as the individual artists. So the next one we're going to move on to is Loot.
Loot. Okie dokie. We can do that.
And the first project that I got on there, is it West 1996 Part 2?
Yeah, it's West 96 Part 2 and then Go Mouth.
Okay. Cool. Anybody get a chance to listen to West 1996?
I listened to it. I'm trying to find my notes.
Like I said, I did too.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll kind of go off on this one. This is also another solid project. It's not anything like, for me, it's not anything special, but I do love Lute's backstory. And I think that it is really important that he tells the story that he wanted to tell. So I do have to give him credit for that, because the first time that I listened to it was when it dropped, and it had been a minute since I got a chance to actually listen to it full stop. So when I listened to it on the on one of my road trips, I was like, oh, okay, this is actually not bad either. I will say that I think Still Slumming is one of my favorites because it's a Jay Dilla beat. And I think that's I almost noticed it immediately. I'm like, yo, why does it sound like it would be Jay Dilla? And I had to go and research it. I'm like, oh, this is Jay Dilla. Okay, bet. So yeah, that, and there was another one, Premonition with Earth Gang and Cam.
I was just about to say that, bro. Premonition, my favorite joint on there.
That's definitely my favorite one off this album. As far as where it goes, this is, again, I want to say somewhere between B and C for me. I'm liable to put it like C plus, B minus, but it really just depends on how we vote on it. But that's kind of where my vibe is. It's like, okay, this is high C, low B range. Any comments, or anybody want to talk about it real quick?
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah. So my favorite song was Premonition, but I also did fuck with Ambitions. Those were like two of my favorite tracks off the album. But me personally, this is just a good album. It's a good introduction to him, and I didn't really know much about Luke. I mean, I've listened to the Dreamville albums and stuff, and I heard his verses on there, but I haven't actually listened to his albums until we decided to do this. And so for me, this was a good introduction to him overall as an artist. But I think this would be a C for me as well.
Okay. Who's next?
So, listening to this album, I had actually never heard of Dude before. So I listening to this project. I was pleasantly surprised by the lyricism, because obviously, like I said, I've never listened to it before, and I thought I had a good grasp on all the members of Dreamville. But he falls into a problem that I have with a few artists on this label, where they make good music, but when I listen to it, if I don't look at the track list, I couldn't tell you what the name of the song was. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but the music is good, but it doesn't stand out. Like, each song might be individually good, but if I listen to it, I couldn't be like, oh, that's such and such by Luke. It's just a good song, and I have no idea what it is. Now, I will say, there's 3 artists on here that fall into that for me, and of the 3, he by far is the one I enjoy the most. But I'm not sure I come back to it, because for the songs that I do like, I couldn't tell you like, oh, that's that track and I like it because of this. It's like, oh no, he's rapping well and the beat is cool, but I couldn't pick that song out of a lineup of his other songs, if that makes sense. So while I do think it's a solid project, I probably wouldn't come back to it. And it's kind of an average album to me. I would still put it above Elephant Eyes, but I don't think I could go higher than like a C+.
Okay.
I could never get behind that. Being from Charlotte, like, it's one of the things that I pride myself on, at least having some idea of some Charlotte artists. And I'll be real, like, before one of the songs from another album we'll get to, I wasn't familiar with him. But after I heard him on that first track, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I hear him shout out, I'm like, usually my ears perk up because it doesn't happen that often. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then it made me want to go listen to his next project, which we'll get into in just a moment. But yeah, I really feel what you're saying, Leek, where it says like, there's like, I think we might be on the same page with the 3 artists, where it's like, they're cool. They fill out the roster, but I'm not going to, if they're having a concert, I'm not expecting them to be a headliner. Like,
no, that's facts.
Right. Like, they're like a very good, solid, like, oh, you setting the tone type of opener or like mid card, but never a headliner, which isn't a knock. It's just simply like, hey, certain labels just, you're so strong up top that you can't necessarily have everybody be the star player. Someone's got to come off the bench and shoot a couple of corner threes and then go sit on the bench.
A 3 and D.
Exactly. It gotta be done crazy. You just show up, do your job, don't make it worse. Because there's a certain song that I can't stand off of a Kendrick album. Well, now I won't call it a Kendrick album, but the Black Panther soundtrack. What I never want a smaller artist to do, and it's weird calling this person a smaller artist, but what I want them to do is to never take away from the energy of the track. And from the Black Panther soundtrack, when Future did that,
it
ruined.
Cringy.
It
I can't listen to the song because of that. I can't listen to it.
It ruined it. And in my mind, I'm like, dog, if you are not the main person, like, dog, ain't no way in the world you think I'm gonna hop on this track and I'm gonna do this, and this person's gonna be cool with it. Because I'm gonna look at you sideways like, dog, I wasted my time and energy to let you do this bullshit. I don't get that from like any of like the lower guys on the label. It's just they're not the headliners.
Yeah, like when I listen to like I said, it's good songs. So it's like I want to like him as an artist, and I do like him as an artist, but I probably wouldn't check for him. Like if he comes out and somebody lets me know he drops, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna check it out. But it's probably not going to be something that makes my playlist, even though it's good music. Like he's a very solid rapper, and I really like his content. But I'm still looking for something that sticks out when he raps. Like if there's whether it be a flow or he does something particular in his rhymes, and I don't get that. So it's like it's hard for me to stick around knowing that you still rap well, but it's nothing that really sticks with me when I leave.
I think everybody here has a fair argument about Luke. You know, he's good artist, you know, good songs. You have a good track list. It's not something that's going to be like memorable, so to speak. And we'll get to Goldmouth here in a second, but I definitely agree with everybody here. So with that, I am going to put West 1996 Part 2 ahead of Elephant Eyes. And then that brings us to Goldmouth. Any thoughts on this one?
For Goldmouth, I think it was a better album than the West 1996. I really feel like you could see that he did have a lot of growth in between those two albums. I did enjoy. I like the song "Ghetto Love" with Ari Lennox a lot, bro.
Yes.
But I mean, anytime Ari Lennox is on something, I pretty much, you know what I'm saying, I fuck with it. So, but I like that one a lot. Yeah, as soon as she came on, I was like, yeah, okay, this is the one. But yeah, man, I really like this album a lot more than this the last one, the West 1996. I give this one I would give this one a high C or a low B. Just his growth as an artist, but I will also say that there's a lot of tracks, and when you have so many tracks, that leaves more room for error. So you can get lost into the whole like, okay, these 4 songs were good, but then we go to a moment where like 2 or 3 songs in a row, you just kind of get lost and just out of there for it. Because like, especially when he at early on in the album, like in the middle of the album, there's a lot of features. So then so then once you know, after a while it's just him again, and it kind of just it takes you out of the album a little bit. And that's no offense to him, but it's like maybe they could have changed the track listing and shuffle those features up in there so that you wouldn't just get so used to hearing other people. Maybe that could have made that album a little better, but I really enjoyed this album a lot more than West 1996.
Okay.
I can definitely agree with that. I think with a lot of artists who don't get as much push, not from negative reason, but just there's not space or timing for it, is that when they finally get a chance to put out an album or put out music, they take stuff that they've had on the back burner for a while, and then they try to throw it in there because they don't know when the next time they're going to have out music. So they want to make sure that if they go perform this at a concert, people at least had a chance to hear it because it was on the album. But I think it also suffers, like you said, Steve, about it just, there's so much. Like for me, I'm at the point now where give me a good 12 tracks and I'm good. If you give me close to 20, you're going to lose me because I'm going to get on my phone. I might start scrolling. I might turn on the TV, watch something, and then I'm not in the mode to fully finish the album. And if it's not a hook to it, then I may never make it back to it. And I'll say, oh, it was cool, but I never really listened all the way through, which I definitely listened through majority of this album, and I like it more than his first one. I definitely see a lot of growth in the production. So I would put it, like you said, probably like maybe a low B, high C, somewhere in that ballpark.
Leek.
So this album was tough for me because I like him as a rapper, but like you said, I feel like it didn't fit. Like the songs didn't fit to me. And I found myself midway through the album not even remembering what I listened to because there was so much going on. I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't finish it. Once I got to the meat and body of it with all the features, I got lost in the sauce. And like you said, with so much going on, I couldn't stay focused listening to it. And like I said, it wasn't even bad. It was just too much going on, and I felt like I wasn't listening to him that much. I was listening to the features. And like I said, for an artist that I don't already have that rapport with, that I don't like, I already like have an understanding of like what you bring to the table. Like, because you got to understand, I listened to the one album before this of this artist, so you're still making kind of a first impression. So once I got to all, I can't. Like my attention span was gone. I couldn't stay focused, and I felt like I replayed a few songs again and again, and I was like, I'm still getting lost listening to this like span of songs in the middle, and I couldn't finish it. But for what I heard, it was okay, but it was just too much going on. And it kind of ruined it for me.
Well, I'm kind of the same opinion. I think this, for me, this was a better album. You can hear the growth. You can hear the growth in production. But as everybody else has said, the features, I think, kind of killed the vibe of this album. And that's not to say, again, that it made it a bad album. It's just, as Steve has suggested, maybe you break up the monotony a little bit, have a couple songs here where this feature and then bring it back to you and then rinse and repeat. But to have all the features pretty much like clumped together in the middle of the album, just to hear your voice again by yourself, it really just, it doesn't flow well. And I think that's kind of where I'm at as well. It's like, and I loved the features. I love the feature with Ari Lennox. That one was one of my favorites, if not the favorite of this album. I loved Birdsong with Jid and Saba. Like, and y'all know how I feel about Jid and Saba. Like, those two are high on my list. But again, it's just having all of them together, because you go from him being by himself to you got a small feature with Devin, okay, fine, but then you got Kaz, and then you go to BJ the Chicago Kid, and then you got Ari Lennox and Black Soul, and then you got Little Brother, which they had a fire verse on there as well. Then you got Jen and Saba, then you got a West Side Boogie, and then it's just back to you, and it's like, wow, that was, again, if you break up the monotony of that, then it doesn't really change the flow of the album, because you could really put this album on shuffle and it's not going to like really change the story structure of it. It's not like a linear structure like a lot of albums, like if I'm just going to give an example of Good Kid, Mad City, or Under Pressure by Logic, like those kind of follow a linear timeline, but this doesn't necessarily follow that. So you can put it on shuffle and mix up the album and it'll probably be a better listen, but to listen to it straight through, that's where the problem lies. So it really does keep the album from being like great. However, for me, I am going to put this above West 1996. I'll come back and revisit to see if it does fit into like that B- category, but for right now it's a C, or a high C. So with that, I'm going to do some more skipping around again, just to go ahead and get to the artists that have like lesser projects, I want to say, but I don't want to call them lesser. So let's do Kaz. Not Sappy, goodness gracious. Nasa, what is the first album for Kaz?
So for Cause, we got Cause and Effect.
Okay.
And then the second one is Affected. And then Fortunate.
Okay. Got it. So I'm gonna get to Affected in a second, because I really do want to talk about that. But we can talk about Cause and Effect. I think with that one, and I'll start the conversation with Cause and Effect. I think it serves as a good introduction. Again, it's really not something that's gonna capture your attention too much, but it's still not a bad album by any stretch. I think though, this album really focuses on Cos being that, that braggadocious hip hop artist that's coming up and finally got signed. So now he's bragging a little bit. He's trying to say that he's him on this album, and that's not bad at all. I will say that I did listen to this album a couple of times just because it sort of kind of suffers the same problems that the Omen album and the Loop albums have. It's like you don't really, not one song really does stick to you, with the exception of Knock the Hustle. I think that's the one that I can remember. Remix. Yeah, and the remix especially. But yeah. I will say that I caught on to Knock the Hustle the first time I listened to it. Like, okay, that's kind of memorable. And then, of course, J. Cole hops on the remix, and it's like, okay, that's really memorable. So, yeah, but the rest of it is more so about him, being that braggadocious artist and actually, getting signed and whatnot. I will say that I am not a fan of LSN, aka Light Skin Nigga. That was the one song that I probably was just kind of like, okay, he probably didn't need to have this, but whatever. But again, the album itself is not long. On top of that, it's only 42 minutes, so he gets in and then he gets out quick. The other one was Cody Mack. Okay, I get it. You're trying to be braggadocious. You're trying to show that you're that guy, but I'm not feeling it. So this one will probably fall into the C category again for me. But I did want to hear what everybody else's opinion was.
Oh man, Kaz. Remember I said there was them 3 artists.
I knew Kaz had to be one of them. I was like Kaz, Luke.
Oh yeah, I could have told you that from the jump. I was like, I already knew he said it. I was like, yep, I knew exactly where he was going.
Yep. So Cause and Effect, I had already listened to the self-titled album Cause before. So this is me going back to listen to his first album first. And I wasn't moved. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's he's one of the artists that can rap, but I don't really care for his content and subject matter. He has ability, but I'm not listening to you. Like some of the shit he was rapping about, I couldn't get down with it. Like, it's not even saying that he's bad, but I was just like, okay, this is a cool project. It seems like you're rapping because you can rap and you're just rapping for the sake of rapping. And that's cool, but it's not gonna move me. I'd rather listen to Luke as far as like what he's talking about and how he delivers it. So it was okay. I would give it a D, honestly.
I'm not mad at that at all.
I'm right there with you, man. Because honestly, if you hadn't made me pick out of the 3 of Omen, Luke, and Kaz, there's only one thing from Kaz that I've really liked, and that was on Revenge of the Dreamers, and that's not even like from his own work. It's him having a verse on there, and I'm like, I could take it or leave it. I'm not going to. If someone's like, "Oh, Kaz drop," okay,
right? Like, what does that got to do with me?
It's fine. Like, again, I think Dreamville as a whole never puts out anything bad. But I think, at least with some of their first projects, I'm starting to notice a trend where it's like their first album or their first project is cool. Like, that they didn't do anything like dumb to embarrass the label, but it's nothing that's going to be like earth shattering or like going to move you one direction, get you hooked. Whereas you look at Luke, I love Goldmouth a lot better because, I know what he's coming with, but you see the evolution. And I think that's a big thing with artists is, if you want to have sticking power, you have to be able to evolve your craft to make it a higher quality product so that people will say, oh, I'm not really sure about them, but at least know that it's not bad. Like, if I throw this on in the car, I throw this at the house while we're vibing, nobody going to look at me crazy like, what is this nigga playing? But I would agree with you putting a D because it's like, I'm good. If I didn't have to listen, I'm not going to be bad. I'm not going to be mad about it.
I agree. I'm not the biggest fan of Kaz. I don't know. It's not saying that he can't rap, but I'm just not a fan of his music. Knock the Hustle remix is the best song on this album by far. And I honestly and truthfully, it's not because of Kaz. And then
that is very fair, bro.
For me, this album. Man. Yeah, I mean, I love J. Cole, but I mean, I try to give everybody on Dreamville a chance because a lot of the artists I do fuck with, but Kaz is one of the ones that I'm just like, I'm good if I don't get to listen to an album. So this is a D. For me, maybe an F. And it'll only be an F just because of the fact that I myself personally I don't fuck with the album. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Just gotta keep it real.
I feel it.
I'm not gonna argue. As we said, majority rules when it comes to this. So I will put this in the dud category for the time being. Now I do want to talk about Affected because like Leek, this was actually my first introduction to Kaz. Like, I didn't listen to Kaz and Effect when he first dropped this. I listened to him when he dropped it Affected. Now, I like this album so much better than Cause and Effect because, granted, as we talked about Cause and, not to beat a dead horse, but yes, he is one of those artists where it's just like, yeah, but he's not going to sit here and embarrass the label or anything like that when dropping projects. But I do want to say that I actually enjoyed this project. Now, again, if Cause never drops anything else, I'm not going to be like, okay, yeah, I need to, go and talk about it or anything like that. And I just remember that he did drop a mixtape in between that, but we didn't put it on the list, so I'm not even going to talk about it. But I think really and truly what helps this album is I want to say some of the features on there were a little better. Of course, you got Kendrick Lamar on one of the hooks. Then you got Currency on Badu, which is actually a good track for me. There is an interlining story that's going on in between. Of course, you hear about Koss, or Cody is his real name. You hear about him, I guess, struggling with this. I don't want to say fame, but he's struggling with the fact that he's an artist now, but he's also still trying to, be that character that he was trying to portray in his first album, and how it's affecting his relationship. If you hear like some of the messages between him and, I guess, either his girl or his baby mama, but you can kind of hear that story in between and how he's like kind of going through this situation. So I do want to say that this album told a better story than the first one. Now I might be generous with this one because, granted, while Kaz is not that artist that I'm gonna sit here and be like, oh, I gotta go listen to him immediately. I'm not gonna run to him and listen to. And y'all have heard the opinions of everybody else about him. I do want to say that I would give Affected a B, because I thought that this album told the story that it wanted to tell. It told it effectively. And I also enjoyed it. Will I go back to it? Maybe. It's not a solid though. But still, I actually enjoyed this more than his first album and the EP, which we'll talk about. But that's just my personal opinion. And then we may have to add some grades about where we place this album. It just depends on what everybody else says. So any comments?
I also did not really care for this album as well. Like the Hustler Story hook was dope. Badu is a good song. That's the Thing was okay, but for me, like, I'm just not vibing with it at all. Like him as an artist, just me personally.
I feel it, bro.
Honestly, I feel like I can see that he's starting. It's like one of those things, like you're starting to kind of get it. Like, oh, you see the spark there. You kind of see what the label saw in him, and he's trying to get better about his artistry and like making a cohesive like project. But I think what he suffers from is that what he's trying to do as an artist, there are I won't say a multitude, but there are other artists who do it better and more consistently, in my opinion. Whereas like Kaz he's trying to pick this lane, but the lane is already congested with other artists who I feel like it seems more authentic, if that makes sense. Like maybe this is what got him on, so he's trying to stick with it, but maybe it's not really fully him. I'm not trying to say he's friend. I don't know his life, I don't know his story, all those things, but I think that it's kind of like slightly forced. Like there's another album that we'll get to that I felt like was forced for the artist, and it's not like genuine to who they are.
I feel like we know that. I feel like I know the exact album you're talking about.
We might be synced up like the Wi-Fi.
I feel like I know the exact album that you're talking about because I was so mad listening to it.
I don't go back to it for that exact reason,
man.
But
what can I say?
Maybe low C. Maybe, but
that's okay.
I'm trying to find something positive to say about this album. So, for full transparency, I first heard this album years ago. This is my first album that I listened to by Kaz. I think at the time I liked maybe 3 or 4 songs. I think Van Ness, Badu, what's the other one? And Zendaya.
Yes.
Did y'all like Zendaya? Because I did not.
I said this when I first listened to it years ago. I remember that being one of the songs I liked. I tried to listen to this album again to refresh my memory on it, and I could not finish it. I just couldn't do it. I did not like this at all. I literally could not finish it. And it's not even that he's not rapping well or it's bad. I just don't care for the music at all. Like not even a little bit. I couldn't even force myself to get through it. And it's just like I think it's like Steve said, I just don't care for his music. I just don't. I couldn't get through it. So for me, this is a C-. I do think it's better than his first project. So like C-, D+. But
okay.
yeah, I couldn't do it.
All right, so I'm the only one that had said B. So I do at least want to kind of put the grades together just to see where this album falls. I'm gonna stick by it. I'm gonna say 80, but I do want to hear like actual, numerical grades so that way we can add it up, get the total, and get the average.
I give it a 70.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with a 70. Just it's like you turned in work, it got graded. It's there. But okay.
But don't turn this in again.
It's one of those things where I'm like, you can do better. Like it's one of those, not one of those, let me see you after class, but one of those, I've seen you do better work. You can do better. You just haven't done it yet.
I haven't seen him do better work, so he gets a 60 from me.
Hey.
I'm not gonna sit here and lie to the kid. Like,
hey, maybe that's the teacher in me. That's probably the teacher in me, man.
That puts him at a 70. So would y'all prefer is this better than Elephant Eyes or is it worse than Elephant Eyes?
No, it's not better than that. It is not better than Elephant Eyes.
It is not.
We'll keep it there.
I'm about to say, I feel like there's a lot of not indirect slander, but it's just sometimes you just in the group project.
Nah, facts.
He just in the group project.
I feel that. Okay. Well, I think we covered the three lesser known artists that are on Dreamville. So that
it was another. He had another EP. He had another.
Yeah.
EP.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right.
Fortunate. Yeah.
So I am going to put like the Fortunate EP in the EP category. Obviously, we haven't got a chance to talk about any of the other EPs that have dropped. This one, I mean, it's really kind of hard to grade an EP, but
it'll be behind all the other EPs.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like, yeah. I'm definitely taking Ari Lennox's EPs and Boss's EPs over this. So, I'm just being genuinely honest. Like I listen to it. I'm like, okay, yeah, but the other ones are better. That's just me, and I'm not trying to say anything negative. That's just throwing that out there. Okay. That would bring us to. Well, does anybody else have any comments about that, or we pretty much all in agreement that the other EPs are going to pretty much be better than this one?
Yeah. It's not going to be funny. It's going to get washed and folded like laundry.
Hey, I like that analogy, brother. Like that analogy.
I literally just wrote down 3 words: finished but forgettable.
Hey. And I think that I've been using a lot of basketball analogies, but he made it to the league type player. He's like the 11, 12, maybe 13 player on the bench that gets garbage. I hate saying garbage minutes because I don't think he's garbage, but he just like he gets those. Oh, everybody starts cheering because he never gets in type player. He's like the non-scholarship players for Duke.
Yeah, the game is out of hand. Let's put him in there and see what he can do.
Like, oh, he made a 3. Cool. Yeah, we don't need him in crunch time.
Nah. Damn, man, he the low second round draft pick. Y'all saying he in? I got you. He in the 50s. He's not even second. I was using NBA terms, but because you only know there's only 2 rounds. He went
undrafted and worked hard through the G League and got to the league.
We used to call it the 30 for 30 niggas. The nigga that get in for 30 seconds or when we up 30. That's what we used to call it.
Wow.
30 for 30 has been ruined now because of you.
That's what we used to
Wrong,
call it.
but that hurt my feelings. You didn't
Okay. Man, I can't wait to clip this because this is gonna be, man. Hey, listen, it is what it is, man. This is why we here. You got to give our honest opinions. So, next up are the more major artists. I'm going to leave this to NASA to decide on which one that we talk about next.
Let's see here. I think that we should go ahead and get through Boss first.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's start with Boss.
Okay.
The first couple EPs is going to be Last Winter, Too High to Riot, and Milky Way. This is the first three, and then we'll go through them all.
Got it. So, his first three albums, honestly, Last Winter, Too High to Riot, Milky Way. Let's talk about Last Winter. How did everybody feel if you listen to it?
I enjoyed Last Winter. It was a fresh discovery for him. Me personally, I like Boss. But this was like my second favorite album by him. I really like this one. It's my second one behind Milky Way. Milky Way is my favorite. But yeah, I like Boss, his style. I think his it's just a different, listen when you hear it. It's a different vibe every time you hear it. He got this certain like upbeat. I don't know how to explain it, but it feels like spring, summer every time you fucking listen to this nigga album, and I just really fuck with it. So I like that. Him as a rapper though, I think he's just a solid rapper, but I just think he makes good music, if that makes sense for me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but for this one, Last Winter, I liked it. So yeah, I would put this at a B minus. Yeah, probably about B minus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's
like
next?
to your point about Boz, he always seems like he always on spring break. Like his
Right?
music always, like he's always vibing, chilling. Like you never feel like he's like stressed. Like he just hop in, like he's in a lazy river at a resort, just chilling, and he just rides the beat a whole lot, if that makes sense. And like he has one of my favorite songs on this album. My nigga just made bail. I think if I got it right.
That shit is.
Oh, like I've been to all of the Dreamville festivals, and when he performs that song, it is like it's nothing but a good time when you hear that song, man. So I have to put it like I'll definitely put at least a B minus.
I'll let Lee go last on this one, but yeah, my nigga just made bail is definitely it's a vibe. Last Winter, I'll admit, was this is actually not my first introduction to Boss. My first introduction was Too High to Riot.
I went back to Riot.
Yes, and I got to talk about that in a second. But I did go back. I'm like, okay, well, I must have missed this one. Let me go ahead and listen to it. And I thoroughly enjoyed the album. I will say that I laughed at Dog of the Day. I genuinely laughed out loud because I was in the gym and it came on. I'm just like, wait a minute. What? Okay. As y'all said, it feels like he is eternally on spring break. That man has the vibes all around. And it's like, honestly, he can just make music. And it doesn't seem like he creates great music and it's almost effortless. So I got to give him that props to him. He's like, yo, he can make some good music here. I definitely like the last track on there, Last Winter. It is something that when it comes to his albums, it's always a vibe. Also, side note, Brother X, I did not know that Boss went to Hampton either.
Yeah,
until later.
That is the crazy thing because he was the one who put. I think the way that it went, it was Boz was at Hampton. Then he put, I want to say it was Jid. He put Jid on, and then Jid, who was my year at Hampton, he hit up them. Well, no, Jid was the year before me. And then he hit up Earth Gang, and Earth Gang was definitely my year.
Yeah,
And I remember they had the James Hall mixtape. That's a whole nother story, a whole nother day. But
Yeah.
But I don't know if did he finish?
No, he didn't finish. He left. I don't know what year I think he either left like right before you got there or right before I got there. I can't remember, but I do know, we were there when Jid and Earth Gang was there. So
I
remember I interacted with Earth Gang. I never had any interaction with Jid, unfortunately, but I do remember having plenty of interactions with Earth Gang.
Yeah, Jid ended up being gone. Full transparency, he had some troubles with the university for some stuff that, of course, he didn't have no business doing. I won't get into that to respect the man, but yeah, he was on the football team, so I think that's part of why we didn't see him too much, because he was a monster as a DB. It's just the music thing just took off for him.
Indeed. So yeah, this one, last winter is a B- for me. What say you, Leek?
So like you said, my first album I listened to was from him was Too High to Ride, so I had to go back to listen to this. So I thought it had a strong start to this album with a questionable middle that kind of lost me, and it felt a lot like filler. And it picked back up at last winter and it closed well with Lit. Boss is probably my favorite artist off the label. And I think because to me, he's not a rapper. To me, he does poetry over beats. He's more so a poet that raps in his free time. So that's why I feel like I get the feeling that a lot of times it don't even seem like he's trying. He's just enjoying himself over beats. And he's just singing, giving you his poems over beats. But this is a really solid album. I definitely would give it a solid B to B minus. It's not my favorite album from him, but it is a very good album. Especially for your first studio album. Pleasantly surprised. I'll give it a solid B.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got our first B on the list.
Well deserved.
Very well deserved. Let's go ahead and talk about Too High to Ride because, man.
Let me go first.
Yeah, go ahead, Lee. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do the honors, please, sir.
This album is my favorite album from any artist on this entire label. Too High to Ride is by far my favorite album from anybody on this label, by far. I still remember the first time I heard this album. It just seems like a diary entry or just someone being introspective over beats. Very deep, very melodic. I think that it's one of them albums that when I listen to it, you listen to this album if you feel like you're trapped inside your own head almost. And I feel like it resonates with the human spirit, honestly. I feel like it's something that at some point in this album, you've been through what he's talking about. And it's just something that you would listen to like driving in the car at night. This album is a vibe for me. Especially since it's a rap album that doesn't really feel like a rap album. So if I had to grade it, this is an A+ for me. This is like I said, this is my favorite album from anybody off the entire album.
Okay. Anybody want to go next?
I really like this album as well. I don't have as high as Leek have it, but I definitely really like this album as well. Same thing that Leek said, though. This is a vibe, and it doesn't feel like necessarily a rap album. It's just really mellow and down to earth a little bit. And sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like for me personally, with my rap music, I don't really be looking for that kind of vibe, especially like the way that I listen to Boss or whatever. I get that spring, summer feel all the time. So this one didn't have that as well. So it was just a different vibe for me. But overall, it still was a really good album. I have it as a B+. There's like a lot of songs on here that I really fucked with. Dopamine is fire. Even though we just got on the cars. Dopamine was fire to me. Clouds Never Get Old, I really vibed with that. And then Ricochet. But yeah, for me, this is a B+. I guess, yeah. But like I said, I liked Milky Way more, and I gave that a B minus. So maybe I need to make it a B minus as well. But yeah, it's a B for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Michael. You got it.
It's one of the things where I love it, and I think that I saw that jump. Like, you know how I mentioned before, how like some of the artists in their second project, they make that jump. There's the jump for like, say for Luke, where it's like, okay, higher quality, solid, solidified. This is your lane. But for me with Boz, it's just like he took a step and then he took another step. Like he did the quick pat, pat, like the small steps tool up there. And it was like one of those things where I'm like, okay, Boz, I feel you. Like I still play Night Job all the time. Love that song.
Night Job.
It's one of those things. Like for me, like I'm gonna tell you right now, a lot of these artists, especially when we get to the higher tiers or the other artists, hearing them perform it live at their festival, it hits different for me, man. And when I listen to like Boz is a set that I make sure no matter what else is going on that day that I make sure I listen to. Like I show up, I'm vibing, I ain't got nothing going on. I got a nice adult beverage and some other things if whoever feds are watching or listening. But yeah, no, it's a good time, man. Love this album. Definitely give it a high B.
Okay, so that is to me. Now, this is not my favorite Dreamville album. However, it does rank highly up there for me. I'm kind of in the same area as Leek when it comes to this one. This is my first introduction to Boz, and I honestly, yeah, this album did it for me. Between Night Job, Ricochet, Dopamine. damn Cody, bro.
Maybe we need to revisit this kind of thing, man.
It's the difference between like just rapping about drugs and then like kind of just making references to them and having it's different. It's not the same. It's not the same.
That's fair.
Yeah. Housewives always pulls up on my playlist like every time. I don't know why that's the song that my playlist decides to go to. And that's not to say I don't like it. I really love Housewives. It's just that's always the song. Like anytime I play Boz, Housewives is the first one to pop up. But I'm just like, well, damn, again. But that's one that I will say that I've committed to memory. Yeah, this album, as Leek said, is like when you're trapped in your own head, this is something that you can listen to when you're out on a drive. Especially for me during Christmas time, when we were in Colombia getting prepared for my grandmother's funeral, I played this album and I listened to it straight through just because I know I needed that release. So for me, I'm definitely going to rank this a little higher. This is probably going to be right around that A- for me. So for a number grade, I'm giving it a 90. So we do have to take the averages here. What are the other grades that we are giving?
I give it a 93.
Steve,
We're at 84.
84.
I was right around that 85, 86 range. Like if he came and talked to me after class, like, yeah, I really thought about this, and this, he might convince me to push it to a 90, but I'm gonna stick with an 85 to be on the safe side.
All right, so we'll do 85. That brings his total grade to 88. So it is going into the B category here. And then that brings us to Milky Way. Steve, I know that you said that you really enjoyed this album and this is your favorite. So if you want to go ahead and start.
Oh yeah, sorry. I walked into the kitchen to get some medicine, of course. But yeah, this is my favorite album by just off the vibes. And I was on deployment when this album dropped, so it was like getting played a lot because we didn't have nothing very much else to listen to. But we was like really, really playing this shit a lot. Tribe, Boca Raton, like Fragrance. Fragrance was really fire too. Actually, both of his tracks with Corey C was really good. But yeah, this is my favorite one just off the vibes alone. It just really gave this island type feel, and we was over there, in the sandbox, but we used to go to the pool and stuff, and this album would just be on full blast. This was my favorite album by him by far for me. I would give this. I would give this a B plus, A minus. That area.
Okay. Who wants to go next?
I'll go real quick. It's at least an A minus minimum for me. My wife slash co-host for our podcast, she'll tell you Tribe is probably our favorite song from him. We literally did that as our walk down the aisle for all of our bridal party at our wedding this past year. It, in my mind, if you ask me to tell you like what is a boss song, even though Cole was on it, I'm going to go to Tribe first. That's just me personally. And in my mind, I'm like, he was deep down in his bag. Like he couldn't find his way out. He was so deep in his bag, at least in my opinion. So I'm gonna at least put him at A. That's just me.
All right. And Leek.
So if Too High to Ride is here, for me, Milky Way is just slightly below it. I guess I really love this album. Boca Raton is one of my favorite songs. Purge is one of my favorite songs. Icarus is one of my favorite songs. This is a good album. Like when I heard this album, I honestly got mad because I feel like not a lot of people heard this album. It was one of the better albums that dropped that year, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was like 2018, right?
Yep.
This is one of the
August or something.
Yeah, this is one of the best albums to drop that year, and I feel like nobody talked about it. But yeah, this is more in tune with I think what Steve said, like the spring. This feels like spring, like, and this definitely has an island feel to it, especially on Boca Raton. I would give this album a 89 B plus.
Okay. All right. And that's gonna lead to me. Now, I love this album, but this might be the controversial take here. This is probably my least favorite Boss album. And that's not to say that it's not good. It's just maybe it's just because of when I was listening to it. It's like, dang, I'm not in the happy mood, because this album truly, I think, it does have some introspective stuff within the album, but it's supposed to give you like that vibe. Now, when it came out in 2018, I said this was one of the best albums of 2018 by far. It's just not my favorite Boss album, and it maybe just because of the mood that I was in. And when I was listening back to it, I'm not exactly sure what that might pertain to, but for me, it was just like, this is a good workout album and whatnot, but it doesn't hold my attention like Too High to Riot did. And the other album that we got to talk about, we'll get to that in a little bit. And so, but that's not to say that the album isn't great. It still is. This fell at like maybe a 88, which is honestly still higher than what I would give Last Winter. So even
you was talking about it like you was gonna give it like a 80.
No, listen, this is me being objective. Just because I don't vibe with it, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a great album. I do think that, because I have to consider everything that we talked about in the rules. The production is a lot better than Last Winter. The way that the album flows is a lot better, and I think that just the overall how the album was put together is a lot better. And so that's why I'm like, I can't let my feelings dictate where I place this. It's going to get a higher grade than Last Winter for sure. I just personally was not vibing to it as much as I did Too High to Ride and his last album that just dropped. But that's just me. So, yeah, I'm not about to like sit here and give it a bad grade just because of that. Nah, I don't do that here. I try to be fair. But with that in mind, we need to go ahead and, I guess, add these grades up. So I said 88. Leek said 89. What were the other grades?
I'm gonna say 92, 92,
Yeah,
93.
91.
91.
It's probably like a 90, 91 then.
It is a 90.
Wow, first A.
First A.
He slid on the beat. He got in there.
Yep. All right. So for the audience, we're just gonna go over this real quick. So we don't have anything in the S category yet. For the A category, we got Boss's Milky Way. For B, we got Too High to Write and Last Winter. In the C category, we got Goldmouth, West 1996 Part 2, Elephant, Eyes, and Affected. And in the D category, of course, we got Cause and Effect. And nothing in the F category yet. And the EP right now, we just have Fortunate, which is, yeah, it's just there for the time being. So that brings us to Boss's what is Boss's next project? It should be an EP that comes up. Nasa.
She put the Spilled Milk EP, but I don't know if that was on the list. I've heard it, but I don't think that was on the list you sent me. But she put Spilled Milk.
Yep. It's Spilled Milk EP. And then this next EP is Bump Pick Me Up. And again, the Ho Chi Minh EP is, I'm going to exclude that because that actually falls into the last album that just dropped this past December. So that would be Spill Milk EP, Bump Pick Me Up EP, and We Only Talk About Real Shit When We Fucked Up.
Okay, yeah. So Spill Milk.
So, all right. Spill Milk is, and I think my screen just froze. Hang on, guys. Boy, gotta love this joint. All right, we're back. Let me go here and scroll down. Well, we already know it's better than that.
Yep. I'm about to just do the thing.
Yep. Now for me, the next one, Bump Pick Me Up, I actually enjoyed it less than Spill Milk. It's still better than Fortunate by all means, but I enjoyed Bump less. I was like, okay.
Yeah. I put him in between. The only song I really, really liked was the song with Ari Lennox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Spilled Milk is definitely the better of those.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, Fried Rice and Jola Rice is just crazy. For me, like, especially JID verse on Fried Rice is crazy.
Bruh.
That nigga verse is crazy on it.
Just that boy nutty. That's crazy. Like, if I could say something, like, in my mind, Boz is just that type of artist where it's like, if he says he's going on a trip somewhere, I need to be on that trip because it ain't nothing but good vibes and good music. Like, he might record a whole album while we on the trip. Also, like random shit.
You ain't lying. You are not lying. Now, since we've pretty much put the EPs where they are, that actually brings us to his latest album that literally dropped in the middle of December, which is We Only Talk About Real Shit When We're Fucked Up. Anybody get a chance to listen to this?
I listen to it.
I've only heard bits and pieces. I don't have enough. I haven't listened enough to be able to say for sure.
Okay.
What's on that one?
I mean, it literally just dropped. So hold on, let me get back to it because you have
Light of My Soul, Black Jedi, Choppers, 179 Deli,
Passport Bros.
So my track listing says the name of the album is 179 Deli. The name of the EP is 179 Deli.
Yeah, 179 Deli is on there, but yeah, he literally I don't know what platform, but I use Spotify, and the whole that EP that we talked about is included on this album. So anything but with Cartoon, Ho Chi Minh, 179 Deli, all of that is on this album.
Oh, so I don't know why my Spotify is saying that the name of that EP is 179 Deli, but I've listened to that. I don't know. This one wasn't a great EP for me. It was still decent, but I didn't really love Passport Bros.
Hate that song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Most of the
gonna get
time,
to
him
that,
and J.
yeah,
Cole
because
don't miss, but they missed on that one.
I can't stand Passport Bros, but I think the song itself is kind of a joke in itself. But Paper Cuts, but I'll get to that when it's time for me to talk about this album.
Mm.
Honestly, I
Go
feel
ahead.
like it's a step back. Like it's not like bad. Like he fell off by no means. I think it's just he just had a really hot run with the last two albums, and then this one is just like, I mean, it'll hold me over. Maybe since it's still relatively new, like if it gives me some time, like listen to it, maybe I'll feel differently. But in my mind, it's probably the weakest of his projects, but not in any negative sense. It's just you got quality, slightly less quality, but still good quality. So I'm gonna say low B. Just
Okay,
from that, just off what I've listened to so far.
gotcha. Leak.
Honestly, I was disappointed by this album. It did not live up to the expectations, and maybe my bar was too high. Like I feel like Boss wasn't missing really on his albums. So listening to this, like it started off solid. I liked the first track. I thought Black Jedi was okay. Chopper was decent. 179 Deli was decent, and then that middle part, I got lost. I was like, I don't know who album I'm listening to. It just feels like songs just put here. Ho Chi Minh was solid. I felt like that needed a feature for it, maybe like a JLEC or something. Cartoon, I liked the verse, didn't really care for the hook. It wasn't bad, but it didn't live up to the expectations that I had for this album. So I would put it like a B- C+.
Okay. So then it comes down to me. So I now, because of how this album and when it dropped, I had said that I enjoyed listening to this more than I did Milky Way during the time of my listen through, because again, there are certain feelings that this album particularly invoked that Milky Way did not invoke. So, but still, to be fair, Light of My Soul and Black Jedi, the album starts really well, as Leek said. Home Alone really is, really cool vibe as far as the song itself. It's not my favorite J. Cole and Boss collaboration, because Paper Cuts on this one is much better. Much better. Passport Bros, I'm not even counting that shit. 179 Deli, of course, Ho Chi Minh. I will say that I'm not a fan of U-Turn. Not the biggest fan. I like Testify's beat, and I like the feature. Sometimes I can get a little bit lost in the song, but I do like, like the song has potential for me. So maybe I have to listen to it a few more times to actually, get what I'm looking for. Yao Ming was okay. Diamonds is okay. I love Cartoon, but just like Leak, I'm not the biggest fan of the hook, but I do love the verse. And Wait on Me, I do love that song as well. So like for overall, I think just to be fair, for me, this album is probably going to be like a middle of the pack, like B. But as far as like how I vibe to it, I thoroughly vibed to it more than I did with Milky Way. But in being fair, in talking and trying to be, I guess, critical of the songs itself, it's like it doesn't flow as well as Milky Way did. But still, I think truly the song for me on this album was Paper Cuts. I think that's the one that really like hit home for me. So yeah, I guess we gotta put some grades together. So I'm gonna say middle of the pack. So I'm doing 85.
Generous man.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say 81, 82, okay. 81, 82.
And Lee
79.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to abstain because I didn't see this album on there. I only saw the 179 Deli EP, which was only 4 songs. So I've only heard 4 songs off this album. So I'm gonna have to abstain.
So that puts the grade at 81.6. So effectively,
It might be a
are
little
we
high for
saying that?
me.
Yeah, but that's
Honestly,
kind of where it falls.
I could be very much convinced to bring mine down some.
Now, that's not bring it
I mean,
down.
just seeing it next to the other albums on B
That's what
upsets
like,
me.
like it's like one of those like he snuck in. Like this one's like, dog, how you get in the club?
Dog, that's crazy. It's crazy, but I think B minus. I mean, because it is a B minus from based on our grade, so like it fits. I think we just have to add more albums to it, and we'll see if it. We'll see where it goes. But all right, guys. We have finished Boss and his playthrough. Nasa, are you still there?
Yes, I am still here. I am still here.
Okay. When you choose the next artist, just keep the the main artist last, and then we'll get to like the compilations and whatnot. Just for clarification.
Main artist. Okay, so what you want to do next?
You know who the main artist is, like the person who founded Dreamville.
Oh, period. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
Jermaine.
Jermaine.
yes,
Okay.
Jermaine.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do Ari Lennox next. She has 4 projects: Shea Butter Baby Remix, Away Message, and Age, Sex, and Location.
There's one missing. Fo or Fa. Her first EP.
Her first EP. Am I missing that?
Yeah. It says PHO or Fa.
Oh yeah. So okay, so technically there's 5. Yeah. So there's Fo, Shea Butter Baby Remix, Away Message, Age, Sex, and Location.
All right, so she's got 2 albums and 3 EPs. So let's kind of rank these EPs first, and then we can talk about Shea Butter Baby and A-Sex Location. Where do you guys feel like her first one goes? Obviously, before Fortunate.
I think it's better than the Bump EP.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say so too.
That's solid.
Agreed.
We got the Shea Butter Baby remix EPs, which is really just like 3 or 4 songs where it's not even like a true remix. It's just some added verses. If I had to put in,
I'd probably put it behind Bump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Away Message, which I actually thoroughly enjoyed. Away Message. I was thoroughly surprised. How did I miss this? I want to put that before, like in front of Fo, behind Spilled Milk.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
I think that's where it should go.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, cool. So I think we got those EPs out the way. So we got Spilled Milk as the top rated EP so far. Then you got Away Message, and you got Far. Then you got Bump, the Shea Butter Baby remix EPs, and Fortunate. All right, Shea Butter Baby.
Man, what negative thing can I can't say anything but positive things about Shea Butter Baby.
Shit.
Dog,
You ain't lying.
Dog, that thing had me in a chokehold when it first dropped. Like my girl, every kickback we had, vibes every time. Like that's like, oh my goodness. Like it's probably my favorite project from her, like high A, in my opinion. I have nothing but positive things to say about it.
I would have to agree. Like Shea Butter Baby, when that project came out, like it just transforms like energy all around. Like you couldn't say this project just wasn't a vibe. You couldn't say that this wasn't a vibe. Like it just was a chef's kiss every time. Like, get my new I just got my new apartment. Yeah, like that shit was just a vibe.
New apartment is the one.
Oh my God, yeah. She gave girls an anthem. They moved out of a bad relationship, got their new place. Oh yeah, it was blasted everywhere.
Let me go make these goddamn garbanzo beans.
Oh, that takes me out every time.
I think I've heard from everybody except Leek.
Nah, this is something that you put on and you just hit shuffle and you just let it go where it takes you. it's literally like I feel the same way about all her music, but I do think this is her best project, me personally. I do like it slightly better over HX Location, but she literally makes music that I can just put on and I don't have to worry about what the track name is, what she talking about, what's the meat. Like I'm literally just vibing the whole time. It's just a mood to be in when you listen to her music.
Yeah.
I would give it a
100%.
B plus.
Okay. This is her best project. I mean, it's her debut album, but for me, like, yeah, this really was the album for me of 2019. Like, if I wasn't listening to nothing else, I was listening to this album, even if the songs don't relate to me per se. Just hearing her voice, how she structures her songs, I love this entire album. Like, I will go back to this album just randomly. Like, yeah, you know what? Time for some Shea Butter Baby. I need to relax, or I need to just hear her sing, and I will just play this album nonstop and just be like, yeah, that's it. So yeah, obviously, of course, you got the track Shea Butter Baby. You got Broke. Of course, you got New Apartment, which is the anthem. So this one is as far as a grade for me, I'm going to say this is A, not quite like a solid A. This might be, I want to say 94. That's my first thought.
Yeah, no, I had it at 93.
Okay.
New Apartment, Speak to Me. Shit, you can turn on the Sims and hear BMO on the fucking Sims. Like she just had so many hits, bro. On this song just had a lot of vibes to it, man. This is my go-to when I was like fucking around and doing Lyft and shit. I would just play this because then I wouldn't have to worry about nobody complaining and writing no damn bad report because I'm listening to rap music or something like that. So yeah, but this is like a really really good album for me. So I gave it a 93, an A for me.
Okay.
I would say
yeah, go ahead, Mo.
I think I said a high A, but I'm gonna say like 97, just because I think literally just from like she came in the door. Like I love Chicago, love just literally just everything that came through it, and for me, where she was at, where R&B was at the time, she had just this. She had this very unique voice. Like it wasn't very cookie cutter. Some of the other artists who are dope and phenomenal, but it's just she has this very. This is one of your homegirls that can sing, but she be chilling. But when she put that shit on. At least
You ain't lying.
that I have nothing but positive things to say about art.
Indeed. With the grades, of course, that puts it ahead of Milky Way. Because Milky Way was a solid 90. Shea Butter Baby is a 93.25. So it is our next A. Sex Location. What are our thoughts?
It's one of them albums that's good, but I know I wasn't the target audience. I'm listening to it. I'm listening to it, vibing, and then you hear them snippets at the beginning. It's like, damn, okay, shit. Can I enjoy the song too? But nah, it was solid. I don't think it was as good as Shea Butter Baby, but it was very good. I give it like an 88.
Yeah, I'll go next just to get it out the way. I think I'm kind of in the same boat with Leek. Mine was like an 88 as well. It's a very very solid project. It's not better than Shea Butter Baby. It may be because again we're not the target audience. It's the women, or others. But yeah, I think one track that I will say that stuck out to me, other than Pressure, obviously, I did love Waste My Time. I thought that was kind of funny, but that's just me. Yeah, and of course you got the Boy Bye with Lucky Day. That whole back and forth was also hilarious. But those are some tracks that stuck out to me personally. I really do like the vibe of this album, but again, we're not the target audience. So, but yeah, 88 is a good score for me as well.
Yeah, same thing as y'all said. I was trying to really get into it, but I was like, there's some things in here. I was like, I don't think it's for me, but that's okay. Um, and then overall, still like musically, I don't think it was a better album than Shea Butter Baby. So, and I mean that could play a part into the fact that the album wasn't for me, but personally, I just still think Shea Butter Baby was better. Maybe NASA can speak on that a little more, but yeah. So I gave this album like a B minus just because I listened to it like once or twice and that was it. I couldn't even like really just dive heavy into it.
I honestly echo a lot of what you guys said, and I appreciate the space that it takes for the targeted audience. Like we all said, it's not as strong, Shea Butter Baby, in our opinion, but I'm confident like an 86.
Okay. And Steve, what was your numerical goal? Good, not goal. Goodness, because your numeric grade.
I gave it the Kobe 81.
Say that one more time.
I said I gave it to Kobe 81.
81. Okay.
Yes, sir.
NASA, did you want to put your thoughts into this? If she's even there, she might have stepped away for a second.
Okay.
But either way, I can ask her, if she comes back.
I'm back. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
But yes, I do want to. I want to give Shea Butter Baby. I would give it a 90. Like it was just a straight overall, just like a solid, just like a straight solid project. Age, sex, and location. For me, that was a project that I was only able to like listen to once. I didn't really like go back to listen to it again like I did Shea Butter Baby. So I would give that an 80.
Okay. All right. Well, it puts it behind Too High to Riot, but ahead of the other one, so it falls in the B category here after all the grades have been added up. So we are done with Miss Ari Lennox here. And just to get the audience caught up, so in the A category, we have Shea Butter Baby and Milky Way. In the B category, we have Too High to Riot, Age, Sex, Location, Last Winter, and we only talk about real shit when we're fucked up. In the C category, we have Gold Mouth, West 1996 Part 2, Elephant Eyes, and Affected. In the Dud, we have Cause and Effect. Nothing hit flop yet. And in the EPs, we have Spill Milk, Away Message, Foe, Bump, Shea Butter Baby remixes, and Fortunate. Who is our next artist, Miss Nasa?
So let's go ahead and do Earth Gang. We got Mirrorland, Ghetto Gods, and RIP Human Art.
Okay. So for me, I do want to talk a little bit about Mirrorland because I think with Earth Gang, I've been following them since they were on Hampton. Of course, I followed listened to all their projects even before they got, signed to Dreamville or, had the deal with Dreamville. I think with Mirrorland, you do get the vibe that they're trying to revive that Southern hip hop feel. They get a lot of, you could tell that they get a lot of inspiration from Outkast and how at least they structured this particular album. For me, I don't know what it is. I like the album. It doesn't stick as well as their next project will with me. Ghetto Gods is something that I love. But Mirrorland was one of those things. It's like, okay, it's here. I'm enjoying the vibe. Is it the album for me? Maybe kind of. It falls in that high C B minus range. And again, it's not to downplay like the lyricism or the music making ability. I just think that from the way that it flowed for me, it's just like it's not where Ghetto Gods is. That being said, I do love Proud of You with Young Thug. Stuck is actually one of my absolute favorites on this album because I heard it live multiple times. And I think that it comes out better live than it does on the album. So there's that. And of course, the La La challenge is downright funny. That is their first intro to the song. So it is a hilarious intro. And it does kind of show like their lyricism. And then Swivel, which of course you'll hear again on the Revenge of the Dreamers 3. But those are the tracks that like really, really stand out to me. I will say that Tequila definitely has its moments as well with T-Pain. Like he definitely made that song better, in my opinion. I don't know if the song works without T-Pain. And then the little feature that they had with Kalani, I'm honestly wasn't the biggest fan of Trippin', but that's just me personally. But still, the album is very, very solid.
So Mirrorland was my first introduction to Earth Gang. And when it dropped, I really fucked with this album. I like Up, I like Top Down, I like Proud of You. Tequila is really fire, but like you said, it didn't work without T-Pain. But I think that's just the feature, you know what I'm saying? And then the DC Young Fly skits on there. I really fucked with this album. But like I said, Ghetto Guys is just way better. But I really fucked with this album. This album was solid. I would give this album like an 83.
Hold on, you were breaking up real quick. What did you say that you would give the album?
I'd give it an 83.
Okay, that's kind of where I was. I said 82. But yeah, that's fine. Leek, Malcolm.
I really like this album.
Yeah,
my bad. But like everything that Steve said, like for me, this is my favorite Earth Gang project. I really like the La La Challenge. I really like Up. I really like Tequila. Obviously, it's kind of like y'all said, it's if T-Pain on that song, I can't listen to that song. But Top Down, I like Wings. This is also my first introduction to Earth Gang. And like I probably have more songs that I like on this album than any other project that they have. And so for me, I give this like an 86, 87.
Okay.
For me, we've talked a lot about the two albums, like Ghetto Guys and Mirrorland. They're like neck and neck for me because I appreciate what they do. And like I said, I have a certain amount of bias because I went to school with them for a time.
Yeah.
I'm depending on the day, I might go with Mirrorland more. I'm probably going to put them like an 86 just because like the beginning of the album is just so strong. And whereas Ghetto Guys, I like, but there's less like I know I will go back to X, Y, and Z song. For me, at least.
Okay. So I didn't know if you got a chance to listen to any of Earth Gang's albums, but I didn't know if you had any comments about it.
I actually have not been able or have not listened to any of the Earth Gang albums. But I definitely will definitely go in and listen to them.
Sounds good. So 84.25 was the score, so it is effectively right here in smack dab in the middle. All right, and then there's Ghetto Guys. Now the one that I used, of course, is the Ghetto Guys deluxe version, because it does have songs that they that they added afterwards. I'm going to say, because I kind of got to judge them a little separately, because Ghetto Guys and the deluxe version, they kind of it's a little different with how they end it. So they do put some other tracks on there, because I believe the last track on the original Ghetto Guys was Run To with Ari Lennox, which I thought was a decent ending, a very strong ending. And then of course you've got the deluxe album where they include Smoke Something, Black Pearl, the original recording of Black Pearls, the original recording of American Horror Story, which honestly I like the OG American Horror Story that they added from the deluxe version. I was like, whoa, okay, this is actually different, because Johnny Venus, he actually does a slower verse, and you can actually hear what he's talking about. You're just like, yeah, okay, he's talking about some shit. Whereas he wasn't. It's not that he wasn't talking about shit in the first one, but you can just hear that, without the flair of the one that they put on the first time, that this one seemed much darker. It had a darker outlook. So and I really vibed with that. So I do have to give them credit with that. I'm Leveled Up is what it is. I'm Beyonce with Smino. I'm never gonna vote against Smino. So that's just me. But I will say that the standouts for this particular album, for me, of course, is Water Boys. Shout out to Steve. We used part of that as part of the intro for him. Obviously, Ghetto Gods, Amen with Music, Soul Child, Strong Friends. Boy, Power as well, but Strong Friends is definitely, I think that song in particular raises the bar for me on this particular album, because man, that when the album first dropped and I heard that song, it really brought back some memories on, people that I've known that are no longer here with us. And even just to, from me and from my personal standpoint, listening to it, this is like, dang, sometimes I am that strong friend. And a lot of times, not now, but like a lot of times in the past, I didn't have a lot of people checking up on me like I do now. I was always there for them. And then sometimes, like, when I was feeling down and when I was having my moments, I didn't have that. And I would just be like, well, I'm doing all of this for others. Where am I, why am I not getting that in return? So now, of course, that's the scope has completely changed. I have some great friends who do check on me as well as me doing the same. So that song, but when it dropped, it definitely hit because of how I was feeling during that time. Now, the album overall, I think just because of the themes and the messages that this album had, resonated with me a little stronger than Mirrorland. And so I gave this album an 87. But I do want to hear what everybody else has to say.
Me personally, Mirrorland and this is really neck and neck. This gets the slight edge, and the reason why I gets the slight edge is because of, like, Water Boys is like one of my anthems. Like, I play Water Boys a lot, bro, just riding around and stuff like that. Also, anytime Smino is on something, I automatically just go find the track. If he's a feature or anything like that, I just go find it. I really fuck with Smino. Amen. By Muzik Roundtable with Muzik Roundtable was really, really good. I fucked with that one. I fucked with Run 2 with our lyrics. To my point earlier though about this, the only downfall about the Ghetto Gods Deluxe is it's fucking long as fuck. 23 songs. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And that leaves more room for error, because I feel like in a small pocket, this would have been a really, really like fire classic album. But I feel like with it stretching to 23 songs, I was like, okay, I can see where the little, you know what I'm saying, where it just leaves that room for error, because you have so much fluff and stuff like that. But yeah, I really, really, I fucked with Ghetto Guys a lot, like I said. And then Water Boys, for me, is the best song, my favorite song by Earth Gang in entirety.
Word. Malcolm?
Honestly, yeah. I'm like I said before, they're like neck and neck for me. If I had to, just how well, I think I liken it to this is like I have to be in a certain mood for one album versus the other. Like Ghetto Guys came out in a time where I wasn't necessarily in the headspace. It wasn't almost kind of like I think it was either Milky Way or another one you talked about where it's like you just weren't in that headspace, Kev, when you heard it. It's one of those things where I'm like, if I'm not quite in that space, then it's not going to hit the same. So that's why I would probably put it like 84, 85, still solid quality product. Enjoyed it when I listened to it and when I am in the right headspace or in the headspace to listen to it. So I would say 85.
Okay. Before I get to Leek, Steve, what was your grade? Steve?
My bad, I was on mute. My grade is an 86.
Okay. And One Piece Leek.
This shit was too long. Like, I don't mind long albums, but the skits, it just made it drag on. Like, once I heard the first skit, I didn't want to hear any skits anymore. Like, to me, it's like Steve said, the longer you make an album, the larger your room for error. So I can go 2 or 3 songs that I like, but then you'll hit me with like 2 songs that I don't care for. I feel like they're filler. And I feel like it waters down a project. I'd much rather have 12, 13, or even less than that if it's like all quality. Like Steve said, this had a lot of potential, but because you put so much on it, you had more misses. It's not more misses than there are good songs, but it makes it a task to listen to this whole album. Like, I don't want to have to stop and I need to do a palate cleanse while I'm listening to the album. So for me, I give it like an 84, 83.
Okay. Now, if the album itself had cut off like the original album, because it cuts off at Run 2, that is officially the last song of the original Ghetto Gods.
That's still like 17 songs though, right?
Yeah, it's still 17 though.
That's still long.
Like he's got a point, and like I said earlier about the album, I'm like, give me a solid 12. That's probably the max that I'm going to do now, honestly. And you have to be like, there has to be like a certain artist. There's certain people who I'll listen to. I'm like, dog, I can't get enough. But it's also one of the things where it's like, if we had to trim the fat, you could trim the fat. Like, these are like padding to an already solid project in a sense, you know?
No, I feel that 100%. So with the grades that we have, it really does put it neck and neck with Mirrorland. They're like literally, it could change by a point because I think one was 84, the other's 85. So they're literally right next to each other. I guess that's fair enough. So both of these albums, yeah, these albums can be interchangeable. So that ends at least Earth Gang's solo albums, because they do have a group called Spillage Village, but of course that's not under Dreamville except for one album, but we'll get to that when we get to our compilations. Nasa, if you are there, well, I guess there's really only 2 artists that we got left as far as solo projects.
I'm here, and we gonna go next to Jid. And Jid has 3 projects: The Never Story, The Capriccio 2, and The Forever Story.
Just as Boss is Leek's favorite artist on Dreamville, Jid is my favorite artist on Dreamville. And man, I was so amazed to hear when he first when he first dropped the Never Story. I was like, where the hell did J. Cole find him? And then I found out, like, wait, he was at Hampton. I was like, oh, he was this guy. And whole world just opened up. I'm like, damn, yo, wow. And I never knew that he was like that. And it's funny enough because I think in an interview, Jizz said like he doesn't listen to artists like himself. Like he has to listen to those turn up artists and shit like that. But he doesn't make that kind of music. He's obviously, you know, somewhere in the middle of lit and introspective, but that blends it. That's what makes a great artist. So, but dude can rap with the best of them. And it's just like, when you hear this dude spit, you just like, what the fuck? Excuse my language. But nah, let's talk about the Never story. This is, of course, the first introduction to Jid on Dreamville. Does anybody want to start?
That boy Jid, he's him. Like I J. Cole, my favorite artist from the label, but Jid has been going from like, he's like a couple of tiers below. But if you ask anybody that's not just a regular J. Cole fan, they'll say that Jid's probably the best artist from the label, just from like recency bias and all that. And with his first album, I go back to Never all the time. Never on the album, one of my favorites. I just love, he has just, I won't say a unique sound, but it's just like, when you hear Jid come on the verse, it's like, he ain't playing around. He gonna do what he do. He gonna put up numbers, and you gonna remember that shit. At least to me.
I agree. Shit, that nigga get on the track, I just strap in and get ready for the ride. Like I wasn't counting J. Cole as like the favorite artist or whatever, but I was thinking of everybody else out of Dreamville, JID, and it's like head and shoulders for me above everybody else. Yeah, JID, this, and then the Never story, Ed and Nettie is that shit's fire. Like pretty much everything that this nigga dropped on this shit was fire. The song that he got with Black, 8701, like this nigga he got bangers on here. My favorite is the other album. Because DiCaprio 2 is good too, but the most recent joint, the Forever Story, is my favorite. But yeah, the Never story as an introduction, this is like a really crazy ass introduction.
Absolutely. I'll definitely get to the Forever Story because, I, as much as I talk about one particular album that I thought was a album of the year, and maybe had this dropped sooner that year, I would have given this one album of the year. And for those who I'm talking about, of course, despite all the talk, about Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, that was in my opinion, that was the album of the year for 2022. But had this come out around that same time, Forever Story definitely would have been the album of the year for me. But I say that it was my most played album in 2023. But we'll get to that in just a moment. While we're still focusing on the Never story, Leek, you got any comments?
Yeah, so Malcolm said something that I agree with a lot of people saying. A lot of people think that Jid is the best. I wouldn't say artist. I think he's the better rapper. But I think J. Cole makes better music. But I do think Jid has more ability as a rapper than J. Cole. But I don't think he makes better music than J. Cole. But this is a very good album. This wasn't my first album that I heard from him, but I've heard like certain songs on it before I actually sat and listened to the album. But yeah, this is a very solid album. 8701, Underwear, Hereditary, Never. Like, it's only really one song on here that I don't care for, and it's kind of Steve's favorite, but we're not going to talk about that.
You don't like the Ed and Nitty?
I hate that song. I hate that song so much. But this is a solid album, especially for it to be your first project on the label. This is a really good album. Yeah, to me, I would give it about an 86. The album after this, I think, is the first album I actually heard like from him. Like, I actually sat and listened to it, and I was like, okay, this dude is a problem. People better be on their P's and Q's if they want to get on the same track as this dude.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Yes.
Real quick before I get my score, honestly, like, how we talked before about the first three artists of like Lute, Omen, Kaz. I think Jid is an example of one of the younger or lower tier artists who just took that superstar leap. Like, it wasn't like, yeah, he just had an improvement from one album to the next, but he went like He went on a roller coaster and he hasn't come down yet. Like there's some conversations that are going to have to be had soon if he keeps going the way that he's going. Honestly, that's why I'll start off with like a high like 87, 88 for Neverstory.
I would give Neverstory an 83, and that's just because it's
You
just
think the other
my
album's
least.
higher?
Yeah, the other one's gonna be higher, but I can't.
That's
I gotta leave room for error. I can't. You know what I'm saying? If I give this one an 87, I mean them other ones is gonna be crazy high.
So,
but this is a solid album.
Yeah. As we talked about before with the other artists, as far as Omen, Loot, and Kaz, dropping their first their debut album on the label, and you're like, okay, this was solid. This was a solid start for you. You didn't really embarrass the label or anything like that. You did what you had to do. You put out good work, but it wasn't anything memorable. Jid said, nah, I'm coming in here swinging. And dude came in here and knocked the damn door down with this album, in my opinion. This was an excellent debut album for him. And I think that my grade is going to be around I gave him an 87 as well, which puts him at an 86. So it is literally right behind Age, Sex, Location. Now for me, talking about the songs on here, Never, of course, is probably my favorite song on this track. But of course, you got Division, you got 8701, Leek. I'm with the rest on this one. I do like Ed, Edd n Eddy, and that's probably just because it might be a nostalgia thing. Ed, Edd n Eddy was my favorite cartoon on Cartoon Network, so just hearing a song about it was just kind of like, oh shit.
I hated the cartoon too.
Oh, see, well, that's why. There we go. Well, all right, that makes sense then. But yeah, because I think Jid has a double D chain, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just funny to hear that. But yeah, I think that this was an incredible debut album for somebody. Now that brings us to DiCaprio 2, which technically is a mixtape, but in the age of mixtapes, they pretty much are considered projects now. Because they're on streaming platforms and they get they generate, I guess, revenue despite it not being an actual album.
This is my first time hearing of JID with DiCaprio 2. And actually, the very first song I ever heard from JID was 151 Rum.
Yes, sir.
I was like, who the fuck is this? I was like, who the fuck is this? And then after that, not too long after that, Off Deeds came out, and I was like, okay, yeah, this nigga is really him. But you got those two songs, Strawberries, Hot Box with Method Man and Joey Badass. It's just like the nigga he put together a really solid fucking showing for this one. Like I was like, nah, who the fuck is this nigga? And then I ended up listening to his other project. But yeah, this shit was just too fire. DiCaprio 2 was crazy. And then he fucking put an Oscar on the fucking album cover. Like this nigga knew what he was doing, bro. I give this album 87, man. This shit was fire.
I hate on that. I don't think I'm being sacrilegious. I'm saying this is at least 90 for me, just because in my mind, those two songs of Off These and 151 back to back, it's like, dog, he threw two Mike Tyson haymakers back to back. And I'm like, dog, if this was the album, I'm good. Because when you like, here's how I knew it was crazy. Because like Off These comes on, and I think J. Cole had a part in his verse where he said, Jid is the only thing closest to me. And this is right around the time J. Cole was starting to get into like his braggadocious, like I'm the shit bag. And he said, Jid's the only one next to him. And you hear Jid go off, you're like, oh, I see it. Like I see the vision. Like I believe it. Like I'm a believer now.
Yeah, that shit was crazy.
Before we get to Leak, I'm just gonna throw my comments off there. Yeah, when he dropped this project, now again, I had already been a fan of his debut album, so I was like, okay, DiCaprio 2, let's see what he's talking about. And I hear Off These, and I'm like, damn, this shit fine. And then I hear 151 Rum, and I'm just like, yo, Jid, what are you doing, son? Like you were spazzing right now. This is wow. That's all I could say was wow after the first time that I heard it. And yep, Strawberries, Hotbox, for something that's supposed to be a mixtape, like this shit was great. And again, it's 14 tracks. It clocks in at 50 minutes, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. Off the Zoinkies, I thought was a good track as well. Tied with Black and LMA, or LMI did what it had to do. And yeah, just it's really kind of hard. I'm gonna fall with Malcolm in this. This is a 90 for me. Like this falls right into that A- category.
So, like Steve said, this is the first Jid project that I listened to, and like he said, the first track that I heard was 151 Rum. When I first heard that song, I was like, whoever the fuck this dude is, he just went to another fucking planet. Because I was like, there is no way you just hop onto the scene with this song. And I'm like, okay, yep, let me go ahead and listen to everything on this album whenever he puts it out. So 151 Rum off the Zonkies, Tides, Strawberries is my guilty pleasure song. Hotbox, I love Mount It Up. He really went nuts on this project. And like I said, this is I feel like because of this project, as people started looking at him like, okay, is J. Cole really the best rapper on Dreamville? It's because of this project. When you hear this project, you start wondering, okay, his highs are up there with some of J. Cole's highs. I still don't think he makes better music than J. Cole. But when it comes to rapping, he's in the ballpark. So for me, this song was a solid 88, 89.
Yeah, now I feel like I lowball.
So I see the vision.
With that, it pretty much knocks Too High to Riot off as the highest ranking B+ album and puts DiCaprio 2 right there. So if you are watching the video of this, if you can see, you'll see, of course, in the A category, we got Shea Butter Baby, Milky Way. Then in B, we got DiCaprio 2, Too High to Riot, A-Sex Location, The Never Story, Ghetto Gods, Mirrorland, Last Winter. We only talk about real shit when we're fucked up. Then, of course, in the C category, we have Goldmouth, West 1996, Part 2, Elephant Eyes, Affected. And then in the D category, we've got Cause and Effect. For the EPs, of course, we got Spill Milk 1 by Boz, Away Message with Ari Lennox, Foe by Ari Lennox, Bump by Boz, Shea Butter Baby Remix EP by Ari Lennox, and, of course, the Fortunate EP. Let's talk about the Forever Story with Jid. And this is going to be my first S. I gave this one a 100. And from start to finish, it does run a little long. I will say that the Forever Story does run a little long for me. But I think that this is truly like the first album that, to me, shows that he can actually make good music too. As Leek has mentioned, J. Cole makes better music, but I think the Forever Story is an example of Jid being able to make that music. And he says, like, one of the first lines that he says in Galaxy, he says, I got the shit that you can play for your mama. I got the shit you can play for the hoes. Like, he really found a way to balance that on this album. So for me, obviously it's Galaxy and Radar. Those are the first ones. Then you've got Surround Sound, which went famous for two reasons. One, of course, when the song first came out, of course, you had, the women was twerking to that shit. And I was just like, at first I didn't know it was Jid until I listened to it. I'm like, yo, that sounds like Jid. Oh shit, that is Jid. Okay, bet. And yeah, 21 Savage and Baby Tate, they really, make the song with it. And at the very end, you get that freestyle from to get that extra verse from Jid, and he just goes off. Now, of course, you've also got the Ceiling Challenge that came from this song. And yeah, I never thought that Jid would be able to make this song famous for two reasons, but here we are. And then if you know the backstory behind this, and he actually tells the backstory, he told it back in before this album dropped when he was at Something in the Water in 2022 in DC. He said that Of course, that Aretha Franklin track that Miss New Booty was based off of with Mos Def, you know, that inspired him to make this song. So he used that same interpolation and that same sample, and you know, made it his own track as well. So big shout out to, you know, Aretha Franklin, may she rest in peace, for, you know, giving us that beautiful song. And then of course Mos Def for giving us the classic that is Miss New Booty. And then now we got surround sound. I thought Brother Nim was real cute. And then you got Sister Nim, which I thought was a very good what you call it, not compilation track. It definitely followed the storyline to tie everything together. And then just everything in between there. You've got Money, which I thought was funny because he got the kids on there. Speaking of Mos Def, of course, Yasin Bey is on here too with Stars, which I thought was a decent track. With Just in Time, I'm gonna take the opinion of Leek here. I'm not. Lil Wayne's track was okay. Lil Wayne ain't the same as where he used to be, but it didn't diminish the song. It's just like I expect better from Wayne. But this is 2022 we talking about, so I can't call it. But still, everything else in between there, I thought Crack Sandwich was great because that kind of reminded me. He talked about, you know, how we have to, when you're back in the day, if you grew up Southern, you know how you make them old school sandwiches and whatnot. And, you know, the fact that he was able to tie crack into it because he, I think he made some kind of alliteration where like even it's a crack sandwich because it was just so good. But then, of course, there are other alliterations that deal with crack that are tied into that as well. But still, I thought that was a really, really dope song, and that really touched me. And, of course, 2007, where he talks about, you know, the situation that happened when he was at Hampton and how he got to where he was, which they honestly used a different beat because, you know, the original beat, I think he released some time ago, but of course he had to use a different beat for that song. I think he changed beats a couple of times in the original 2007. But the overall story that this album put together is why I'm giving this a 100. This was, for me, if this had dropped sooner in 2022, this would have been album of the year for me, bar none. And this is coming from a Kendrick fan. Like, I loved this album more than any other album that dropped in 2022. Any other rap album that dropped in 2022. So that's me. If anybody else wants to talk.
Yeah, for me, this was the album of the year. That year. I'm giving it a 96. Dance Now, Crack Sandwich Dance Now was dope. Crack Sandwich, the story at the end with the fight and stuff like that, I literally was living it. And like as he's telling the story, I'm thinking about like situations with my whole family and having stuff like that. Fucking surround, Brother and Them, Stars, Just in Time, and fucking 2007. Like it's just up and down all the way through. With his other albums, he really was just like with DiCaprio 2, it was just like this nigga just spitting and he going off on every track. Whereas this album, he's still going off and shit like that. But like to what Ked said, man, he's telling like a full story with this. And he actually like found balance where he's like not just going off, he's actually telling making actual songs and stuff like that that actually give off these vibes and stuff. This was a complete album for me. Yeah, man, this is my favorite album by him by far.
Yeah, he went from a rising star to he's entering into his prime, and I'm beyond excited to see where he's going to go after this because he's writing a pretty mean resume right now. And honestly, I'm with Ken, man. Ken, you said you gave it 100.
Yeah, this is my first 100.
I'm about to say I'm inclined to go that way as well, man, because it just he found the yin and yang of like, I'm going to rap my ass off, but you get the story and then it just melds perfectly. And it's like there's very few albums that you could put yourself into, like Good Kid, Mad City for Kendrick, where it's like you can see the vision of the storytelling that he's doing. And it almost not the same content per se, but it gives me that same vibe of like, oh, I'm giving you a real story, and it's not like I'm fabricating. It's like, no, this shit really happened to me. You know? So I give it 100.
Leek.
Oh, time to disappoint y'all.
Uh-oh.
So this is a better album than DiCaprio 2, for sure. I don't enjoy it more than DiCaprio 2 though. But like I said, it's I do think Head and Shoulders, it is a better album. For me, I liked Sister Nem, Brother Nem, Cody Blue 31. I liked Just in Time, surprisingly. I could stomach the Wayne feature. I liked Crack Sandwich, I liked Radar. It was a very good album. It's one of the ones that I feel like I'm gonna have to sit with and listen to it more times. I do think that because of when it came out, I might have been paying attention more to something else than giving this my full attention. But it's still a very good album. Like I said, I think it's better than DiCaprio 2, but I don't enjoy it more than DiCaprio 2. But I'm gonna have to sit with it some more. But if I had to grade it, I would probably give it probably a 93.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a disappointment.
No, it's not a disappointment.
You gotta go like, yeah, it was sweet. I'm about to say, wait.
It's like, I just don't feel like anywhere near strongly about it as y'all do.
I don't got it as 100 either, but I feel like hundreds that's supposed to be S tier.
It might be one album out of all these that I got 100 for, honestly.
That's fair.
That's fair.
So that puts the Forever Story right at the A+ category, or an A. So it's excellent. It's not S, but it's borderline. So that is a fair grade for it. All right. Jermaine Cole. So the reason why I decided to throw Friday Night Lights on here is because this was initially supposed to be what Cold World, the Sideline Story is. This was supposed to be his debut. Politics happened and shit like that happened. So of course it ended up being a mixtape, but I threw that on there because this was actually my first introduction to J. Cole. I wasn't there for the warm up or the other mixtape. Someone had to, they brought me in with Friday Night Lights, and I had to go back and listen to the other ones. But this is the one that brought me in as a J. Cole fan. So, what is everybody's thoughts on where Friday Night Lights would go?
So Friday Night Lights is going to be an EP under there.
No, it's not an EP. It's
are we doing the
an
album?
mixtape. So yeah, it'll rank as an album.
Dang. Shit. That's a really good question because I would feel like that's one of his better albums. But then ranking it with the rest of them, I feel like that's an A for sure. Friday Night Lights is fire, and it's a lot of people's introduction, even though the warm up and stuff was for me. But I'm a little older than y'all. Yeah, I'm putting it in an A category. I put it at a 90.
Okay.
I'm slightly under there. I love it. Jermaine can't do much wrong in my eyes, as you'll probably figure out soon. But I have it 88, 89, just because just like how y'all said with Jid, there was more that he could do. I saw the vision. He was probably the first North Carolina rap artist that I really started to fall in love with his music. As I kind of got and figured out what type of vibe of music that I enjoyed. And I was like, okay, I'm very much interested. He putting on from North Carolina, and at the time it wasn't many that were relevant. So I was once I started to hear this, I was like, okay, I'm willing to see where this goes.
Okay. Leek.
Yeah, this was solid. I do think because of nostalgia, people hold this in such high regard. I don't think it's bad by any stretch of imagination. I think it's a really good mixtape. I probably put it like an 87, 86. It was some tracks on here that I really like that, everybody's going to always remember. For me, In the Morning, Blow Up, Farewell is probably one of my favorites. The intro, I love the intro. But yeah, it was solid. I think it's like an 87.
It's crazy because I kind of gave this grade an 89. So we got 87, 88, 89, and 90 on this on this particular tape, which puts it at 88.5. And yeah, this is, again, as I said, this is my first introduction to J. Cole, and a lot of the tracks that Leek named were some of my favorites. That puts it literally right behind DiCaprio 2. And yeah, I think that this was a very, very very solid mixtape. Definitely, I guess from a mixtape standpoint, this would be considered a classic, because the mixtapes that came out around this time, we was getting hit with some heavy hitters, because this was 2009. So this a lot of heavy hitters between 2009 and I'm gonna say up to 2011. It's just the mixtape hitters during that time period, especially if you were in school.
Yeah,
and this was one of them. So yeah, that I think that's a fair place to put it. Now, his actual debut album, I do want to start by talking about this. I am not the biggest fan of the Sideline Story, and
okay, agreed.
Okay,
I knew. Ooh. Go ahead.
This now the album itself, I think as I got older and I listened to it, I was like, okay, it's my younger self kind of enjoyed it more, but my older self was just like, okay, I see why Friday Night Lights was supposed to be the intro, because this felt like, he had to do what the label said. He had to put out like some tracks that would gain traction on the radio and shit like that, and it just felt forced. And it's like, okay, yeah, some of these tracks, nah, this don't fit. Can't Get Enough. I know that's the track with Trey Songz, and when I Trey Songz, I have my own thoughts and opinions on that guy. But the actual track itself, I honestly, even when that dropped and I was in college, I wasn't the biggest fan, because I was like, it's not J. Cole. But I guess we're here. He has to drop a radio track, so I guess this is it. Nobody's Perfect is fine. I have no problem with that, because I'm not gonna ever, talk bad about Missy. She made that track what it was, but yeah, I was not a fan of Cold World at all. And I think there are some tracks that I do like I do like Dollar and a Dream 3. I do like Lights Please. I like the Sideline Story. Contrary to popular belief, I do not like Mr. Nice Watch. I don't. It is what it is. Now, my favorite track on this is Lost Ones. That is far, and my favorite track on here, far and above. Because that track, I think I heard it before on which mixtape was that? The one, or was that another mixtape? Either way, I know it was on a mixtape before I got on this album, but I love Lost Ones. And of course, In the Morning is on here, obviously, because he had to put that on there. This album is like, as I said, it was a chore to get through for me. And I hate to do that to Cole, but yeah, this is C-.
I don't know about. I think it was my least favorite J. Cole album. My favorite song on the album is Breakdown. Then Lights Please, of course, you know what I'm saying. Then Nobody's Perfect, things like that. I would put this album at like an 82. It's still good, but it's just one of my least favorite albums by Cole. Least favorite projects by Cole. Overall,
now I said C-, but I probably should have just said C+, because I'm more of a 78. I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah, 78 is like kind of like what my score would be. So you said 82, so I'm right around that.
I mean, shit, range. I ain't mad at it though, because I mean, for a lot of people, this was their introduction to Cole. because they don't listen to mixtapes and stuff. And I guess he let them dictate what songs he was gonna put out. But this just wasn't that great for me. I fucked with it because I fucked with Cole, but it wasn't compared to all his other projects, especially his mixtapes and stuff like that. After coming off all of the warm up and Friday Night Lights and all that other stuff like that, bro. Like, yeah, you can't give us that.
Yep.
I'm gonna preface my comments by a story that he told on the radio one time. There's this one red carpet that he did where he had this like either Versace or some type of like black and white, not black and white, black and gold shirt on with a big chain, sunglasses, like this whole image of like, oh, he's like a superstar, like he's like one of those regular hip hop stars. And he talks about in the radio interview where he's like, dog, I will never do this again because the label basically was telling him he had to wear this outfit to this red carpet event. And he wasn't really feeling it, but the label said he had to do it. And by the time he went to the red carpet event, there was another dude at the red carpet with the same exact outfit on. And it was like, dog, I'm not trying to be this industry thing. And that's honestly how I feel about this album. It's like, the one thing that I love about Cole is that he very much, when he found himself and found his vibe, he stayed true to it. So when this came out, I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, he's got like some hop. It's like, yeah, it's going to get you on MTV. This is like MTV music. Not hip hop, like one of my favorite artists of all time type music. And it's just like, I'll acknowledge it as part of his discography, but it's not something that I will never personally recommend it as an album to start with J. Cole. Like, it might be the third or fourth album, honestly. Like, before I will go to a couple other albums before I go to this one, honestly. So that being said, I'll say, just because it bothers me so much, I'll probably say 77. And that's probably a little bit of jadedness, but I'll probably say 77.
Hey.
Lico.
This album isn't good. It's not. I remember when this album came out, trying to listen to it. It was a struggle, and it's still a struggle. There's a few songs that I think are okay. Like Likes Please is solid. In the Morning is cool, but we've heard that before. Lost Ones is a good song. Nobody's Perfect is cool. The rest of it, you can throw it away. Like,
oh no, not Breakdown. No.
Throw it away.
You cannot throw Breakdown away. No way.
You can throw this album away.
No way.
Throw it away.
Don't get me wrong. This album is not
wait.
that good, but Breakdown, you can.
Go ahead.
Huh?
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh no, I was like, you could throw the album away, I guess, but Breakdown, I don't think you can throw that song away,
bro.
That shit too. Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Honestly, I feel like there needs to be more slander for Workout because I hate.
Bro, that song sucks. That song sucks.
Workout. I hate it. I hate it with the passion. Because in my mind, I'm like, it is the poster child of what they were trying to do to him as an artist, in my opinion.
Like, oh my god!
The reason I stayed away from that is because I also don't like the sample. This samples Paula Abdul's song, and I'm not a fan of that song either. So the fact that he dropped this song, and I was like, "Oh my god, no! I'm hearing this again."
It's like this is J. Cole's like 2011 finals, LeBron versus the Mavs. Like it's like, I'm glad you got to the finals, but I'm genuinely disappointed. Like, you could have done so much better.
Leek, what's your grade, man?
I get this a 73.
Is Nasa still there?
Nah,
I don't think so.
She said she had to leave early.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, I guess it's just us then. Yep, 77.5 is the score. So
y'all generous as hell.
Put that like right there.
I think it's generous, but it's still better than what it is. What those are that is on the list. So I don't think it's that generous in a sense.
Like I want, like maybe it's the fact that I'm looking at what would it put below it, like where it would go if you put the number lower. Because even his worst album, I still prefer over. Actually, no, I might prefer Omen's album over Cold
Is
World.
this his worst album?
Yeah.
To be determined.
Leek got some bias in there, but yeah, it's his worst
Don't do
album.
that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yes, you
Don't
do.
do that.
We know what the issue is with you.
Don't do
Maybe,
that.
maybe I'm just. I don't know. I'm new to this. I'm a church visitor. I've stood up for the announcements and everything. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm willing to be educated.
Well, I guess we'll see in a sec. We can discuss if it's better than Elephant Eyes or if it's worse than West 1996.
Yeah, I don't think it's worse than West 1996, but
yeah, I don't think so.
It is what it is, though. Like we can move on.
I think it's right there. It's right there.
After a while, it just feels nitpicky. If we trying to like barely move it up, for what it's still a C.
That's very fair. That brings us to the Truly Yours EPs, and let's see, you got Truly Yours and Truly Yours 2. Where do y'all put that, or where do y'all think it should go? Is it both? Is it after Spilled Milk, or is it where are we doing this? Is it great? Is it good? Is it okay? Or are they okay? What do you think? And that just reminds me, we forgot to do Earth Gang's EP as well.
For me, Yours Truly is like a really good breath of fresh air. Because of what we had just got with Sideline Story. And I was like, okay, this is the code that I knew, you know what I'm saying, from the mixtape era and everything like that. You get, what's the shit? Stay. You get, I'm not even looking at the track list, but you get Stay, you get Chris Tucker, you get the joint where he's talking about his dad and shit. I can't even think of all of them. But yeah, Yours Truly was a really solid mixtape. I would put that one above the Spilled Milk.
Okay.
Me personally, that's not the end all be all. But yeah, that's where I would put it. I'll put it right before Spilled Milk. Yours Truly.
Do we have any disagreements?
I don't think I listened to either one of those.
Yeah, man, listen to Yours Truly, bro. That shit is fire.
I about to say,
you got Cold Summer. Yeah, that shit.
Yeah, I would like to say that I like Can I Holla at You. That's one of my favorites.
Can I Holla at You? That's the one I was talking about, where he talking about his dad and shit.
Yeah. Like it is very much a palate cleanser. Like if you're listening to it back when Cold World came out, and then you had Truly Yours 1 and 2. So it feels like it was a reset. Like in my mind, it got him back in my good graces. Of like, I didn't like what this was, but this will be enough to keep me around until you bring out your next project.
Very fair. Okay. Before we move on to Born Sinner, I got to throw on that Earth Gang joint. I want to say that it's, for me, I think that it fits like right here. And it might be a little bit biased because I love Bobby Boucher, the track on there. that's just me talking. It's not better than Away Message. It's not better than Spilt Milk, but I think it's kind of right between that and Fa or Fo. They're about even. So, but that's kind of where I put that Earth Gang mixtape. And the Alchemist's production, of course, is still top tier. So yeah,
I'm okay with it being right there.
Okay. Cool. Born Sinner, the opposite of a winner.
Love it. Again, I'm very much biased. If I skew the numbers, it is what it is. I'm about to say I can be that one judge. Let me grab those lists. Come back to me real quick though. All right. I want to make sure I get all this right.
No, that's not a problem, man. For me, I'm just gonna go ahead and Illuminati is, of course, one of my favorite ones. Power Trip. I have my opinions on Power Trip. When I first heard it, I didn't like it. Now, as time went on, I'm like, okay, I warmed up to Power Trip after a while. But when it initially came out, I will fully admit that I was not the biggest fan of that song, but it grew on me. Forbidden Fruit, I think it does what it's supposed to do. Crooked Smile. Crooked Smile is good. I like the original version better, which actually appears on the Revenge of the Dreamers. But yeah, I like the original Crooked Smile better, but that's just me. That's my bias. There is one song on there that I love above all, and it's like my guilty pleasure, and it's She Knows. Like that.
I love that song. Bro. People don't talk about She Knows. And the music video.
Bruh.
She Knows.
I'm so glad somebody else loves that song.
Dog, I love like what you were saying, Kev, like with like if I just run like Bill Illuminati it is a skit with the Kearney sermon where it's like that nigga ain't like that.
Yeah, the bike up shit.
I still quote that shit to this day. I'm like it's so relatable. And then you talking about Runaway, She Knows, of course. Forbidden Fruit was my first time. I was like, oh yeah, I could listen to an album of Kendrick and J. Cole, and we never got it.
Never got it.
A line ass niggas. They both some line. They some both line ass niggas for that, man.
Oh, they know they could. They that's them that lazy. I don't feel like it. The world would explode if they really hopped on a whole album together. Another gem from that album that I really liked was Sparks Fly with Ayeko at the end of the album. Like I enjoy it just sonically. Like it's one of those things where I'll play it and I'm like, it's cool. Like I like it. It's nothing like crazy. And it's not one I would recommend from the album, but it's like I personally enjoy that song just because I like how it does. Like it's almost poppy enough where it's like, okay, I can see it translate, but not enough where it's like he's trying too hard.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
I would say 90, 92.
Yeah.
Going for you. He about to have some real high grades on these.
I'm about to say you might be surprised. Like there's a point where we'll get to it.
Okay.
Oh, and I will say that Born Sinner at the end of the original album, obviously that's the last track. But I do love Born Sinner. Yeah, with James Fauntleroy. Yeah, bro. That yes. So for me, 93. This was before we get to the next album. This was my favorite J. Cole album for a while. And so yeah, we'll talk about the next one.
How long is a while? That's a 1 year.
Yeah, it is just 1 year. But I was saying, like, for the longest, I was trying to weigh whether this one was better than the next one, or if the next one was better. And after sitting with both of them for a long time, I was like, okay, his next one, we'll talk about it. But yeah, I was trying to be one of those guys who like, man, I like Born Sinner better. Man, I like Born Sinner better. But then as the years went on, I was like, you know what? No, I gotta be fair. This actually hits a little harder. So 93 for me. This might be high, but this is also a tiny bit biased too, because again, this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, She Knows, Land of the Snakes, Trouble, Chain and Day. Even the little interlude, ain't that some shit? Like Born Sinner, Miss America. Like it just was. This was actually a really good album, and it was like, thank you. You know what I'm saying? Because that first album, and it kind of made me think like, oh, he was gonna be an underground artist. After a while, that's what I was starting to think because the mixtapes and then yours truly came out, and I was like, yeah, this nigga probably gonna end up being like a mixtape ass artist because if he don't get it together. So for this one was like, for me, this felt more of a debut album of the real Cole for me. Yeah, I give it a 91 for me.
Leak.
So the Illuminati, when this track first came on, you know, I said, okay, where he going with this? Then them strings came in. I'm like, okay. And when that beat dropped, I'm like, he about to get in his bag. Illuminati was spitting, Land of the Snakes, underrated gem. Power Trip obviously was a radio record. Trouble, Runaway, She Knows goes so fucking hard, and I wish more people appreciated She Knows, especially the end. Run away. I'm like, okay. Yeah, that song went crazy. I was disappointed, honestly, in Forbidden Fruit. I expected more from both of them, but
I wanted a Kendrick verse. Honestly.
Yeah, Kendrick be pump faking.
Bro,
really
every time you see J. Cole and Kendrick on a track together, it's never what you think it's gonna be.
Bro, like
no,
stop playing with me.
No, it's like either don't do it or just like go all the way, commit to it. Like give us two verses where y'all both going at each other.
Yeah, you got Under the Sun, and then it's Kendrick doing a hook. You got the joint with Jeezy with J. Cole and Kendrick, and then Kendrick.
Bro, and that song is a good song, and Kendrick came over here giving a chorus or whatever the fuck it was.
I was like, bro, they keep playing. Only time they really rapped on a song was that joint on the DJ Khaled joint. It was with J. Cole, Kendrick, and Big Crit.
Big Crit, yeah.
Was that DJ Khaled or was that
It's DJ Khaled, I believe.
Hold on, because I'm thinking of
you talking about Ready for Whatever, I think it's called.
Yeah, Ready for Whatever. I think that's on Khaled.
Yeah. I think that's a Khaled song. Yeah.
But yeah, there's also I'm thinking of another one. Because it had Crit on there as well. Trade the Truth. There we go. I'm on 2.0 because
I'm on
because he had like that. Trey had like everybody. He had Crit.
He did a bunch of those.
B.O.B. Yeah. He did, but I particularly liked part 2 because of course it had Cole, then it had Kendrick like immediately after, and they only gave like a quick 8 bars, but it was just like, damn, okay, that it hit. But yeah, that's like the only other one I think that they had like actual congruent verses. So
then they teased us with that Black Friday shit, rapping on each other's. Yeah.
Yep.
But Crooked Smile, obviously classic. Let Nas Down. When I heard Let Nas Down, I was like, yes, because yes, you pissed me off with that fucking album, and this is what we deserve. These verses is what we deserved on that first fucking album. But yeah, this is in hindsight, this is actually a very underrated album. This is a really good album.
Underrated.
It kind of I feel like it kind of falls victim of being sandwiched between a disappointing first album and a really good following album, and people don't talk about the quality of this album anymore. This is a really, really good album. For me, this is a solid 90.
And that puts our score at 91.5. So it will go into the A category, and it should be right before Shea Butter Baby. Okay. Now, I'm going to break my rule for a second with this one, and here's why. Just because Forest Hills Drive did something that really hasn't been done. And the fact that it was able to go multi-times platinum with no features. I got to throw that out there. The impact that this album had just off of that alone is phenomenal. So, and you know, we can talk about whether we think it truly is an S or not, but I'm throwing it up there just because of the impact of it alone, and part of our scoring is again impact. So Forest Hills Drive at this point, because of what it did, and granted, yes, you can debate on whether this was if it got snubbed at the Grammys. But I mean the competition, because if I'm not mistaken, this dropped late 2014, which put that
December
in the
9th.
same
Yeah.
and that put that in the same category as To Pimp a Butterfly, which most people consider the greatest rap album in recent history. So it's just like, what do you do? But still, that if there is no other classic on this list, that is going to be S, and that's something that I don't think any of us can really argue against, just from the impact. Now, whether you like the bars on this or whether you like certain songs or not on this, that could be subjective. But I think just from what this album did, it's just like, it's really not much to talk about. But if anybody does want to talk about it, of course we can. We got the time.
No, this is no skips.
Nah.
No skips for me.
It is. If I were to explain J. Cole as an artist, I'm telling them, listen to 2014 Forest Hill Drive, and I literally have the live version on my phone right now just because I enjoy how much he performs it live. I think, Ked, in the bracket that we did for my show, I think one of my favorite songs from J. Cole, probably my sleeper favorite song from him, is like 03 Adolescence is on there. Still probably one of my favorite tracks. Just the conversation, like his storytelling, like he was in his pocket and just he didn't miss. Like every choice that he made with that album hit, and it did everything it was supposed to do, like he was conducting a symphony.
Yeah, I really even fucked with Hello. Hello was like one of those ones that I just really vibed with, apparently. And then if we could somehow get a way to separate the credits on Note to Self with just the actual beginning of it, the first 2 minutes, I'll play that shit on repeat all day. But the issue is I'd have to listen to 15 minutes before I can just play it over. But the Note to Self is like a motivational song for me, bro, for some reason.
And from my perspective, as we said, no skips for me either. 03 Adolescence, definitely. Wet Dreams before Radio Overplay. For me, I think it really hit because I kind of had a similar situation that happened to me when I was younger. It's just like, dang, yo, why is he? It's like, yo, this is me, bro. Like, why is he really? God dang. Okay, Cole. All right, I get you. We here. We here.
Me personally.
Yeah, it real personal. I was just like, oh man, this is definitely me, yo. Like junior, senior year of high school. Like, bro, I'm sitting here, like, dang, I got approached. I said, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and I'm like, no, you don't, dude. What are you talking about? Just to find out she didn't know what she was doing. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, here we are. So, yeah, it definitely very similar stories with that. A Tale of Two Cities, and Fire Squad, of course. Those. Yeah. If nothing else, I'm gonna play those back to back, like repeatedly on this album.
On my very first listens, when A Tale of Two Cities played, I started the whole album over again. I was like, okay, wait a minute. I was like, wait a minute, bro.
Nice one. Run it.
I played this. I was like, yeah, run the whole album back. I was like, I gotta start it over.
Oh man. Yeah.
I think Leek, you got any comments?
I mean, this is the best that you'll hear from J. Cole, and I feel like he hasn't. I don't know if it's necessarily he hasn't reached this yet, or again, I should say. But this is the apex of J. Cole for me. Tale of Two Cities, no role models is my shit. Fucking no role models.
Dog, those first couple of beats to it. Everybody know that song.
That's me a bit. Like, come on. Love Yours, a very, very good song.
Yep.
Fire Squad, Tale of Two Cities. Like, there's not much that hasn't already been said about this album. This album is 100. This is the Cole album that if you want somebody to listen to Cole, all right, 2014 Forest Hills Drive.
Indeed.
January 28th. Like, just as an intro. As soon as that like melody starts playing, it's just like, yeah, I gotta run this album back.
Hell, I'm gonna go listen to it after I get off of here.
Okay, yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to the next album. Just real quick, y'all already know how we talk about news and whatnot, and you know how we keep up with the daily news and shit. Obviously, the worst kept secret in the world is that Halle Bailey did give birth to her son. So, yay. We all knew that she was pregnant. Yes,
As we all
bro.
knew she was pregnant.
She
I'm
was
about to say,
all the
Halle
long
Bailey
dresses
said,
that she was hiding, but yeah, it was like, yo, she's pregnant. But she tried to hide it like as best as she possibly could, or I guess not play into the rumors and whatnot, but it was literally the worst kept secret. So yeah, she her
Happy
welcome,
for her.
I guess her was up.
I was saying happy for her. I'm praying that she has the baby's healthy. Okay.
Yep. I had to drop that on there, and I think the son's name is Halo, which is
Yeah, I think it was Halo.
yeah. But yeah. Shout out to Halle Bailey and DDG. They have a son together, which again, worst kept secret, but because I remember people were already speculating about it, but the one thing that gave it away was DDG had taken that picture or a selfie of him, but in his Shay's reflection, you could see her stomach. You were like, yep. Okay. So, yep, there it is. All right. Now that we're back on track here, let's talk about the very next album that J. Cole dropped, which, if I'm not mistaken, is For Your Eyes Only.
Yep.
Yeah. This unfortunately comes after Forest Hills Drive.
Mm-hmm.
It's just same thing that Leek said. It's like you're in between, like a juggernaut. With Born Center was in between the juggernaut and a bad album. Now it's like you got that fucking album being that classic, and then you try to do a personal, like real talk album after doing Forest Hill Drive. It's like, unfortunately, that's not what niggas was wanting to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But me personally, I thought this was an okay album. The story was pretty. The story of the album of being a gangster, finding love, and trying to get out of the drug game and shit like that. I thought that was a pretty solid story for an album. But it just unfortunately, Forest Hills Drive came out, and people probably was in everybody's rotation still, and this came out. So yeah.
Yeah. I got to
Go ahead. I'm gonna put it this way. This is no, I lied. It's not. I enjoy this album so much, but I will rank it lower than most of his albums just because it was one of the things where you take a risk, and it was just like, you know how I said Jid is on that trajectory where it's like he hasn't tapered off at all. It was the slightest of disappointment / taper off when he came with For Your Eyes Only, because I'm like, oh, J. Cole's back, like he about to take off, and then it was like, I mean, it's cool, I really like it, but I thought he was just going to keep going up that roller coaster, where it's just like you went up, came down slightly, coasted, leveled out, and I don't know if he's ever found a way to get fully back up there, you know?
Yeah, I definitely feel what you're saying. For me, I think that whereas Forest Hills Drive, yes, was the peak. With this album, it's a good story, and I liked it from beginning to end. I think when it first came out, I'll admit that I was incredibly disappointed, and I thought, man, this album was terrible. Now listening back to it as I'm older and with more mature ears, it's like, okay, the album is actually good. It's just unfortunate where it sits, as Steve says, like you're coming after a juggernaut. People are expecting another juggernaut, and this is not it, and it doesn't get to the same level as Forest Hills Drive did. This was like okay, but I did enjoy the story on this listen through. I was like, okay, you know what, now that I'm hearing the story about gang member finding love, having, you know, a child and then trying to get out and then realizing there was no way out. And then unfortunately, you know, he met his untimely end. It's like, dang, yo, that really does hit. But Cole definitely took a risk with this one. That being said, it is definitely better than I gave it credit for when I initially listened to it, because when this album first came out, I would have said that this album was like a D. And I know that it's not that anymore to me. I'm like, okay, this is more like B minus C plus range. I like this better than Cold World, that's for sure. You know, because it's still Cole, and Cole is still giving, you know, cold raps and cold bars. It's not at the level that we expect, but as I've matured, it's like, okay, yeah, this actually is a better story than I gave it credit for, and a better album than I gave it credit for initially. Leek.
When this album came out, I hated it. Just full transparency, I hated this album when it came out. And then as time passed, my opinion of it evolved, and I just realized that this was not an album for me, especially when it came out. Especially at the period of my life, how old I was. This wasn't an album for me. This came out, and what year did this come out?
2016.
2016. So in 2016, I was like 26, 25, something like that. So like, this just wasn't an album for me, and I had to accept that I have to be okay with this. Just wasn't an album for me, because it's not a bad album. Deja Vu was cool. Folding Clothes hits different now, like being as opposed to being single when the album came out to not being single now. Like, it's just the different perspective that you see the album from, and it changes your opinions of it. But it's a solid album, but it's not that high up on the list of like J. Cole albums for me. But it's not bad. I would give it like an 80.
That's fair.
She's Mine hits a lot different when you got kids and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it is definitely. It's a fine wine. Like, it definitely grows on you over time, and it's like I can sit with it, and enjoy it. Like, I believe the intro to it, "For Whom the Bell Tolls."
I love the
I
intro.
think it's the intro.
Yeah,
like that song. Like, I kid you not to get too deep, because we've been talking a lot, but I feel comfortable now. It's like, I swear, the day that my father passed, I couldn't, like, it was a movie type scene where it's like I'm driving in the rain and this song and the intro came on. I'm like, dog, there is no other perfect song to like significant to put a title or a frame for how I'm feeling in this moment. And it's just like we did it as part of the montage for my father's celebration of life, and it's just like I can resonate as I've grown emotionally with this album. So if it's solely on how it relates to me, I can put it top tier. But as an album just in and of itself, I have to keep it lower. Honestly, like, I would probably put it below Friday Night Lights. Honestly.
Okay, so as far as numeric grades, what I know Leek said 80. What are you saying, Brother X?
Shoot, what do you remember what we have for Friday Night Lights?
Friday Night Lights is high.
Yeah, it's like 80. It had like 87,
then,
88 and a half or something like that, right?
Okay, then I'll with all that being said, I'll definitely probably put it like 83, maybe 82.
Okay. Steve?
yeah, I'm gonna put it at like 81.
Okay, and I had said 82, so that puts us at 81.5.
Okay.
All right. Now, here's the question of the day. Is it better than there we go. Is it better than Boss's last album, or where is it lower?
I'll say it's better.
Okay.
I'd say it's better just
I
because
say it's better than I think it's better than Boss, but I don't think it's better than Mirrorland.
Yeah, nah.
No,
Okay.
it's not better than Maryland. It's not better than Maryland.
Got it. So is it better than
Yeah,
last winter?
just for what it can.
Do y'all think it's because I know we
Ooh,
said it was
that's
better
tough.
than last time, but is
That's
it better
real
than last
tough.
week?
I don't know.
It depends.
I
Are
don't-
you asking current me or are you asking old me? Because it's like, where am I at in life? Because
I don't think
That's a
it's
good
better
question.
than last. I don't think it's better than last winter.
I don't think so either. I think it's fair. It's fine where it's at. Like it's better than we're saying that it's better than where Boss's last album, but it's not better than his first. So it I guess it can sit right between there.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Okay. All right. KOD.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't play KOD like that. I'm gonna give it a
This
smooth.
album sucks. This album
I'm
sucks.
gonna give it
Wow.
a smooth 77. 78.
Wow.
I don't think this album sucks. Jesus.
This album sucks.
Like,
Yeah.
no, my thing is, it's just I think it was mainly because J. Cole started to get on a kick because he went from Pinnacle 2014 Forestville Drive, whatever, and then he went to For Your Eyes Only, where he did a personal album. So then dudes were saying like, oh, J. Cole fell off, J. Cole did this, and like he's not relevant and all the other stuff. And then he decided, oh, I'm gonna rap like these at the time mumble rappers, and then he tried to do that album. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool, but a lot of his other stuff aged decently well. Like the KOD thing, I'm like, it doesn't age well. And like for me, yeah, it had some like hit songs, but I don't go back to the album. Like it's probably my least played J. Cole album.
Damn.
I don't think
I told you that was
but
like that. That's how that's genuinely how I feel about KOD. Like it is not terrible by any means. It's just my least favorite J. Cole album.
Fair
fair
enough.
enough. I mean, it's 12 songs. I would say 6 of them I listen to. 7.
You still listen to 6 of these songs?
Kevin's Heart for sure. Motivate. ATM. I listen to ATM sometimes. KOD.
Like on purpose?
Yeah.
All right.
You don't like KOD at all? That song?
I said what I said when we brought up this album.
No, I'm saying the KOD song. You don't like KOD? All right, let's go. KOD song. You don't like
what
that?
I said when I brought
I'm listed off the songs individually. You don't like it?
Steve.
Damn.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Good.
All right. So
see,
for me,
I knew me and Leaf were of the same mind.
Oh man.
No,
So
I just knew me and him have been synced almost all night. I can definitely get with
y'all
a lot.
are,
Bro, this fucking
y'all are
It's
on
one
the
of those
same
things where I'm like,
page.
I get what he's doing, but Cole, like he almost and Ken, you'll get this. He almost gives me this like Wale vibe where it's like, dog, I know you are better than this. You can yes, you can do this. This is like I have a high standard for you, and right now you are just playing like you goofing off. Like you give me, I won't say half ass. Like you give me like 3/4 ass work. Like
that's such a good analogy because I love Wale, but Wale be making me so mad with some of his music too.
That's actually very fair. So, if I could speak on this album, and I'm just going to say that for me, when the time period that the album dropped, I think it was perfect. Has it aged well? It has not. I will be fully transparent about that. It has not aged well, but for the time period that it did drop, this album was cool. I liked this album when it dropped in 2018. I played it more than a lot of other albums, but is this the one that I'm like Malcolm? This is probably the one that I don't revisit that often, if at all. Now, me personally, as far as where I grade it, it was gonna be around the same grade as For Your Eyes Only. I was giving it like that 82, 83. Like that's where I was, because
Yeah.
from the time of where the album dropped, and then plus you can say anything you want about all the tracks that are on there, but boy, in 1985, he was telling the honest, forsaken truth, and I think he predicted the future. And that is, if no other song aged well on that album, that one did. So it's like, okay, yeah, you was spitting on this one, like you had to get your shit off, and boy, you was telling the truth. So I get it, and granted, I know ATM now. Probably for me, it didn't age well, but at the time when it did drop, I liked it.
was
I liked
great.
Motivate when it dropped. I kind of still do like Kevin's Heart, and I liked KOD.
That's
I
the
will
5 songs
now.
that I said.
Yeah, now the one that when he of course had this other person of Kill Edward, I thought that was overkill, not to be a play on puns, but
The shit
I
was
did think
corny.
that yeah, it was just like, come on, bro, really?
It's beneath it. It's honestly beneath him.
Mhm.
To me, it's honestly beneath him. Like he could have done it without having that persona.
Yes.
Yep. I didn't like Photograph, Cut Off, or Friends.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I said, that's 5 songs though. That the ones that Kid just said, that's 5 songs. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
Fair enough. We got it. We still got to grade it.
I'm giving it, like I said, I don't think it's trash, but it's still a 79.
Okay.
It's
And
a
I
smooth
know
77.
77. Leak.
This album fucking sucks, and it has no replay value.
Cap.
None.
Cap.
That's not cap. You know the other albums. You know the other albums that dropped in 2018.
It's not about the other albums.
It is
We're
about
talking
the other
this
albums. It is.
We're
It
talking
is
about
the other
this
albums.
album.
Talking about it wasn't. Now I want a lot of other stuff. Bullshit. This album sucked. This album is an F. 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 F.
Boy, this least grade is going to definitely drop it down.
Like
This is
like you be in class and there's one cat that just bombs the test and fucks up the curve for everybody. Yeah,
Bro.
So
crazy.
This album fucking sucks.
So because of Leak's grade, it's still a C, but damn.
I mean, I could whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an F. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know if it's
all
below.
I'm saying is I don't think
it can't
it's
be
an F.
below Cold World. It can't like
this shit is below Cold World, and I don't even like Cold World. This shit fucking sucks. This album sucks.
Maybe it's just because I visually see it in comparison to what it's sitting in it. I'm like, dog.
He tried it.
It's like you failed a test and got sent to the remedial class. like that's what I'm looking at. I'm like, yo, like if I'm the teacher, I'm looking at him like, dog, what are you doing here? What are we doing? Like, I can't even fight for my dog because I'm like, I don't love it like that.
I realized, that's only 2 songs. I don't want to do that. Before we move on to the next album, I did realize that he did have an EP, Lewis Street, but it was only 2 songs, and I don't think that that's enough for us to actually grade that, because most of the other EPs have at least 4 on this track list, so I'm going to leave that one off. But yeah, that's that. So that, which brings us to the last single album that he has, which is The Off Season, which we all know, according to him, his last album will be called The Fall Off, whenever that day may happen or whatever he decides to drop that. But this is his last or his latest album, The Off Season, which I honestly thought was a return to form for me personally. This is the this is the braggadocious J. Cole. He's back. He was like, okay, I told a personalized story with For Your Eyes Only. I was trying to send out a message to the kids and whatnot with KOD. Now this is just me back on my bullshit, and I I really enjoyed this album when it first came out. When it came out, like we played this up and down. Like, okay, yeah, this is the Cole that we remember, and I think that yes, it is. It's a 12-song track, and it is, clocks in at 39 minutes and 8 seconds, so it is a little short, and it did have me wanting more. But this right here was like, okay, yeah, this is the Cole that we were looking for. Obviously 95 South, he came in swinging. My Life, I love his features with 21, and Moray's hook, while I thought could have been better, I think it still did fit. So I'm like, I'm not gonna trash that song. I do like My Life. Applying Pressure, yes. Pride is the Devil.
Hold on. Apply Pressure. That at the end of that song, when Cole was talking his shit.
Yes.
Dog,
yes.
like in my mind, I'm like, that's how you do it. Like that the Bad Boys meme of Will Smith talking about, that's how you shoot. How you shoot like that every single time. Like, dog, you that, like, yes, Cole. Stop with the frills. Just get in your lane, stay in your lane, and do the shit the way that I told you how to sing the shit. I'm sorry.
Indeed.
I just had to say that piece.
Fair, very, very fair.
Much like you said, 95 South, My Life, Applying Pressure, Punch the Clock. What's it called? Dang. I fucking just put something on top of my screen where I couldn't see it. Pride is the Devil.
Pride is the Devil.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, he was really back. Amari. Like, pretty much this, I really fucked with this album a lot. I will give this a 85.
Leek.
So this was definitely better than KOD. This is still not something I come back to, like, at all. But 95 South was good. Punching the Clock, Applying Pressure. Pride as the Devil was really good. I thought it was okay, and I feel like he didn't overstay his welcome. So I think 12 tracks was perfect for him kind of bouncing back from that other album that was awful. So I would probably give this about I guess about a 85, 86.
Okay. Brother X.
I would say it's definitely a return to form. I will say when it dropped, I played the hell out of it. Apply Pressure was like the shit that I came back the new season of our podcast with when that dropped. And there's a lot. I think I really like Let Go of My Hand was another one, if we're kind of like talking about like those, like you kind of mature with it type of deal. I really enjoyed this album. I will say I go back to it more than KOD for sure, but I definitely don't go back to it like I go back to his other albums. So I'm gonna say 88, 87, somewhere in that ballpark.
And with my grade, this is for me, I put 90. This might be a little biased, but again, this is because in 2021 when I played it, like I played this joint up and down, and like as Leek said, he didn't overstay his welcome. He dropped 12, was a little under 40 minutes, got the hell up out of there, and so it left you wanting more for me personally. So it's like, okay, you didn't overstay your welcome. You left us kind of like, okay, what's next coming from you? And hopefully we'll see that soon. So this one with my grade, it puts it at 87, which is literally right here in the middle, right, actually right above Age, Sex, Location. Like literally just like not even a half a point. It's like a 0.4. So, all right, guys. we've got all of the albums that are not compilations yet. And so with that, in the classic, in the S, we got, of course, 2014 Forest Hills Drive. In A, excellent, we got The Forever Story, Shea Butter Baby, Born Sinner, Milky Way. In the good category, we got DiCaprio 2, Friday Night Lights, Too High to Riot, The Off Season, Age, Sex, Location, The Never Story, Ghetto Gods, Mirrorland, Last Winter, For Your Eyes Only. We only talk about real shit when we're fucked up. In the C category, we've got Goldmouth, Cold World, The Sideline Story, West, 1996 Part 2, Elephant Eyes, KOD, Affected. And then in the D category, we have Cause and Effect. Nothing flopped yet. But we'll get to that.
No thanks to y'all, because that other one should have been in flop.
Nah, there's no way that you go put KOD in a flop category and let Kaz bake it. No way you put KOD.
There's no way he was gonna get to F. Like I will sacrifice Cosby on Dreamville before I let him get
bruh, you ain't lying. Like, nah, Cos will go into F before KOD does. And
bring them both. Bring them both down.
He said, "Bring them both."
Nah, it's one or the other. Like, if the world is on the line, I'm going to go with KOD before I go with Cos.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now,
okay, barely.
This nigga.
So in the EP categories, we also have from the top EP to the bottom, we got Truly Yours and Truly Yours 2, Spill Milk 1, Away Message. What I forgot what Earth Gang's joint was called, just like that. And I it's the name always misses me. It's Rest in Peace Human Art. We got Foe, we got Bump, we got the Shea Butter Baby remixes, and of course we got Fortunate. The only thing that we have to do now is talk about these 5 compilation albums. We've got Revenge of the Dreamers, Revenge of the Dreamers 2. We've got Spilligion. We've got Revenge of the Dreamers 3, and we got D-Day, and then of course we got the Creed 3 soundtrack. Now, we can go like kind of rapid on how we feel. You know, we don't have to have like a deep dive discussion, but there is one album that I do want to discuss, and of course that's Revenge 3. So, Revenge of the Dreamers, I think, it's really, I think it was a good showing for the artists that were on there. Is it anything special? Not particularly, but I think it's a good compilation of different tracks that, you know, you may or may not miss from certain mixtapes and things like that. So I think it's a solid project. I was gonna put this probably like in C because, yeah. Anybody else?
I'm fine with that.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, obviously, we got to talk about whether it's what is better than and what is not better than. Is it better than Elephant Eyes or?
I put it right after the Sideline Story.
I'm about to say, yeah, that feels about right.
Okay. And then that brings us to Revenge of the Dreamers 2, which felt like more like a compilation of different projects or different songs from different projects than anything else. Like this is really, it's not a lot of original songs on here at all. So this one will probably, I don't want to give it a F because I don't
Revenge
know.
of the Dreamers 2?
Yeah.
F?
I mean,
yikes.
It's more redundant.
I don't think it's an F. It's literally a compilation of everybody's
it's not an F
song.
Yeah,
because Night Job is on Boss and shit. Like it's basically just like taking 2 songs from each person's album that's got a feature from somebody from Dreamville, and then they made it into an album.
Yep,
that's pretty much what they did.
So that's why I said I didn't want to give it an F because I didn't think.
I low key would just put it as an EP because of that. Because the songs that you can hear them on every other album.
It does,
yeah. That's fair. So in that case, well, we can just put it right here then. Because as you said, it felt more like an actual like compilation than anything else. There was no like original songs on here.
Right.
Now, Revenge 3.
That shit had me in a chokehold.
Yeah.
When they dropped, the way they dropped the documentary along with it, like it's top tier in my opinion. Like it's long. Like when you get into like the deluxe and the director's cut edition, it's long. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Once they added all of that, they should made this shit 30 tracks. I was like, whoa. Because the first time I heard it, I could have sworn it was only like 14 tracks. And then when we came back and listened to it for this, I was like, 30? Where all these other songs come from?
Basically, it's like if you're talking about just when it first dropped, it would probably be, dare I say, A tier.
Yes, yeah. When it first dropped, it's like A tier, and I was honestly gonna say like this would probably be as far as the 4 best albums is like it's Forest Hills Drive, Forever Story, and then this would be like just right above Shea Butter Baby for me.
I can see that.
So now, yes, as we said, the deluxe and the director's cut, it's long, but for practical purposes, when it first came out, I have no problem putting it in that position here. So we'll just leave it there for now. Now we gotta. I just want to mention Spilligion. For those who don't know, of course, about Spillage Village, that is Earth Gang, is Jid, and a bunch of other artists that are on there. I believe Benji is one of the other artists, and then there's like one or two more. But this is the first time that a Spilligion album had fallen under Dreamville, so I wanted to talk about it. I do like the way that this album was kind of crafted because it goes into the different religions, obviously, and they do tell stories about their their faiths and how they're able to align and how they're able to what they do as far as their worship, and then of course the things that they just do in their daily lives that help them get through. So I really thought that naming the actual songs off of different aspects of different religions, like you got Spillville, of course you got Baptized, Psalm Sing, then you got Yala, then you got Mecca, then of course Judas, Ocean, Cupid, Shiva, End of Days, Hoppy, Jupiter. Like I think it is a beautifully crafted album. Is it something that's going to like stick forever with you? Maybe not, but I think that just the album production in itself and the way that it's crafted, it makes it for a very solid project. And I would honestly give it a solid B. It's nothing that's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is like the best thing ever. It's amazing. But I think what the album does, it came and it fulfilled its purpose. So that's just my opinion on that. If anybody else has listened to it, if they want to, drop their opinions real quick.
I need to give it more listening. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
For me, it's just in the category of I need to listen to it more. Like it's very much again one of those. I started listening to it, I fell off for some random reason, and then I forgot to come back to it. Not saying that it's bad. I just need to go back and fully listen through all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
hey, that's fair.
I listened to this not even knowing like who Spillville was. It just came up under Earth Gang, and I listened to it, and I really, really like this album. Like you said, it's very creative, and I like how they put it together. I love the intro. Anything with Big Rube, I'm always gonna like something with Big Rube. Him giving some spoken word at the beginning, I love that. I really like the song with Chance the Rapper. Surprisingly, I'm not a huge Chance the Rapper fan. I like Mecca. I like Psalm Sing. Like this is a really good project. It's definitely something that you got to really sit through and listen to because it's a lot to take in, but it's very solid. I would give it a B+.
That's fair. Steve, did you listen?
I did not listen, so I have to abstain.
Okay. Well, this is gonna fall, I guess, in the B+ category here. So I am going to, well, we just gotta ask now, is it better than Off Season, or where would you think of to put this?
I would put it It's very close to off season. Me personally, I listen to this more than I listen to off season, but I don't know if I could definitively say that it's better than off season.
Okay. So I think where it is, I think it's fine. Okay. D-Day.
D-Day is the one with the fucking DJ Drama mixtape.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that shit was solid.
Stick.
It's good. It's fine.
It boils down to Stick. And again, when we heard it, when he dropped it for the first time, because it came out maybe like a week or two before Dreamville Fest, when he dropped that song live, it was electric. Like it shut everything down. Now, mind you, Stick's the only one I ever really go back to on there, but that's just me personally. Not saying that any of the other songs are bad, but Stick just it was a monster track, and the fact that although I love J. Cole's verse, Jiz's verse on that song,
shit, bruh.
like it's here. Like honestly, Jid had him for a lot. Like, yeah, J. Cole had some really like clever, like some like punchlines, but Jiz's verse, so good.
Yeah. Dog, he played Stick at Something in the Water in 2022, and the moment that Jid played it, we all lost our minds. We was like, yep, that's it. Yes, I don't want to boil down this entire mixtape to just this one track, but Stick actually stands out above everything else. But that being said, there are some ones that I do like. I do like the Ghetto Gods freestyles with 2 Chainz. Lifestyle with Boss and ASAP Ferg is cool. I will say that the one that I did not like, obviously, is Big Trouble. Cause good old Cody, man. That's all I can say about that. good old Cody.
They named that boy Cody. You set that boy up for failure.
At this point, Dreamville needs to. Dreamville should trade him for Reason because they put Reason on more tracks than they do Cos.
Bruh. And Reason is TDE.
Yeah, they need to just trade him for Reason, man.
I'm not making that. I'm not making that trade if I'm TDE. I'm not making that
trade.
Of
course.
No, do not.
They should never make that trade. Reason is fire.
I need a first round.
I'm gonna give you a 4 for 4 and like 3 McDonald's meals later to be considered.
Yeah, I'm about to say Reason is actually fire. I would never make that trade.
Oh, Reason cold.
Yeah.
So much cost.
Goodness gracious, as always, we getting so close to that 3-hour mark. That 3.5-hour mark. I will say I do like the freedom of speech joint with J. Cole. I do like Blackberry Sap. I actually like both of Ari Lennox's tracks. Coming Down and Blackberry Sap was actually really good. Luke's track Like Wine, I actually really enjoyed. In this again, Ballin' in Newport with Omen is really rare that we, hear from Omen, but he did drop a nice track there. But as we said, like the Stick was really the big thing here, but I still enjoyed this mixtape for what it was. Again, it's just like another solid effort. I think this falls in a B range. Now, where it belongs as far as the B's, I don't know. I guess it just depends on everybody else's grade.
I actually have not listened to this tape.
I give it an 82.
Okay.
I like it. I feel like the issue with it is that the DJ Drama, Tyler the Creator, Sorry If You Get Lost thing just happened. And it was like this one came out like pretty close or while the hype was still going on. And it just felt like dang, another DJ Drama album, quote unquote, right afterwards. It kind of felt weird to me. I don't feel like it takes away too much, but it kind of gave these vibes of like, even though what I'm saying, they probably recorded the album, they might even recorded it before the Tyler Creator thing, but it's just too close, for it, where it felt kind of like, oh dang, it's kind of copying a little bit. But yeah, for me, it was like I feel like it's like a 82 in that range.
Okay. Like Brother X.
Yeah, I love like Stick is just it is a monster track. That is a show stop. Like that is a show finisher. And like you said, there are some other great songs on there. I would probably put it like 83 just because I enjoyed it. Because I will like it is always in like my top play songs ever since it dropped. And the album itself, I truly enjoyed it.
Okay. That's cool. And then where my grade is, I also had said 82. So it puts it at 82.3, which puts it above For Your Eyes Only. So I'm going to go ahead and move that there. And then the last thing that we have to get to is this Creed 3 soundtrack. Now, it's really, really difficult to kind of grade movie soundtracks, at least nowadays, because you don't get a lot of them. And this album itself, unfortunately, it's not bad, but it felt like a chore to get through. And I don't like when movie soundtracks make me feel that because, again, this is coming from a movie anyway. So I genuinely, want you to wow me. And a lot of movie soundtracks haven't been, giving us the wow factor in a long time because, again, one, a lot don't drop, but it has to be something real special. And I hate to throw, comparison to the Black Panther album that was curated by Kendrick, not the Black Panther Wakanda Forever one, because I have some comments on that. But the first Black Panther soundtrack or, movie that is, or the album that is related to that soundtrack is just, that was so phenomenal for what it was. And it was just like, dang, we haven't heard like a great movie soundtrack or music that is based off of the or soundtrack that's based off the movie album like that in a while. So to get this from Dreamville was another breath of fresh air, but at the same time it just really felt like a chore because there was really nothing memorable that comes from this album. So for me, and this might be lowballing it, but it's a D. It's not anything special for me.
I'm honestly right there with you.
Yep, I was about to say you're not missing nothing.
It's there. I mean, it has the Dreamville name on it.
It's forgettable.
But it's just like one of those things where it's like I felt like with that movie they tried to do what the first Black Panther did, where it's like, yeah, we're gonna get this hip hop artist to curate and come up like this like soundtrack for the movie. It's gonna be a big hit. In all actuality, it's just like it's just different because mind you, it don't like Black Panther had its own hype going along with it, whereas yes, the all the Creed movies were great. It just didn't hit. It doesn't hit the same. I don't know really how to kind of explain it.
Yeah, like with Black Panther, it has such a huge following even before the movie even comes out. Like everybody was hyped and ready for this. For Creed 3, it was the third installment of the series. It's kind of like whatever. And then it's just I don't know. Other than my boy, but that's JID, of course. So you know what I'm saying? There it goes. Yeah. And then culture was straight too, because Reason snapped on that shit. But for the most part, like, bro, this is a very forgettable album, like you said. Honestly and truthfully, I didn't know it was in there on the list. But I remember when it came out and I listened to it, and it was like, okay, them 2 or 3 songs, and that's it. So I didn't really care for that though. I would give this. You said a D. I guess I'll give it a D because I don't remember much about it. I don't want to just say it's a flop. You also got to take into account, like you said, movie soundtrack. The strike is going on, so they can't promote it the way that they want to. Little goofy shit like that. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a low D too. I'm gonna give it probably a 60 on the dot.
Yep. Leek, did you have any comments?
Nothing I ain't already said. This is very forgettable.
Yep.
I give it a 60.
Alrighty. Well, it is in the D category. So we have now gotten through all of the albums that were curated, of course, by Dreamville. And so, one more time for the audience, I'm just going to name what's on this list. If you've watched the video, of course, you've seen the tier list, and of course, we will drop it on the timeline for everybody else. But in the S category, 2014 Forest Hills Drive. A category, we've got The Forever Story, Revenge of the Dreamers 3, Shea Butter Baby, Born Sinner, Milky Way. A lot of B's here. So in the good category, we've got DiCaprio 2, J. Cole's Friday Night Lights, Too High to Riot, The Off Season, Spill Legend, Age, Sex, Location, The Never Story, Ghetto Gods, Mirrorland, Last Winter, D-Day Mixtape, For Your Eyes Only, and We Only Talk About Shit When We're Fucked Up. In the C category, we have Goldmouth, Cold World, The Sideline Story, Revenge of the Dreamers, West, 1996 Part 2, Omens, Elephant Eyes, KOD, and Affected. In the dud category, we've got Cause and Effect and the Creed 3 soundtrack. And for EPs, we've got the Truly Yours EPs, Spilled Milk, then Revenge of the Dreamers 2, then Away Message, RIP Human Art, Foe, Bump, Shea Butter Baby remixes, and Fortunate. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for sitting with us for the 3.5 hours that we did this. And as always, when we do full actual music roundtables with at full labels, it does take a while. So we just thank you guys for sitting through it. And if you got to skip around to certain parts, that's fine as well. But yeah, we got through this all, and I know everybody's tired and ready to wind down. But it is what it is, and I definitely appreciate my guests for joining me. Thank you, NASA, of course, for joining us for the little time that you had. I do hope that you have a wonderful weekend, NASA. So I'll talk to you later, of course. With that in mind, guys, I think we've done a pretty good job. Do you have any other comments about this tier list before we pub up to end the show?
Thank you for having me on, man. It was a pleasure. I had taken a break from the podcasting space to transition, as my listeners will probably hear soon. We'll be back on our back in season 4 of our podcast. But thank you for letting me be a part of this. It took me back on some of the albums, some of the songs I hadn't revisited in like detail. And there's a lot of more re-listening that I want to do, just because I want to curate like a new list, especially with the next Dreamville Fest coming up soon, that I want to have like a podcast discussion about some of those songs. But maybe that's the list for another time.
That's a bet. Anybody else?
Yeah, this is the second time I think I've been on. I think the last time I was with the TDE Roundtable, so it's been a minute. But just thank you for having me. I like doing podcast content that's not always centered around anime. Of course, I love anime and manga, but it's refreshing to do something different, especially with something that I'm passionate about, because I have very strong opinions on music, especially hip hop. So I'm always down to pull up for another roundtable discussion. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, appreciate you coming through, man. For damn sure, bro. It is always good to have you here and to share your takes. Most of them are very good takes, and then some you're just like, damn, he always says at least one thing controversial on these pods, which is absolutely fine.
I don't see what
thank you. I was spitting.
Hey, look,
nothing wrong.
Nothing except for like the KOD take. He was like, damn, this is absolute F. I was like, shit, I didn't think it was that bad, but it is what it is. I know the on the TD when he had some things to say about Schoolboy Q, and even I think
what I said about Schoolboy wasn't that bad. But while I was talking about somebody else, I think I mentioned something about Lil Wayne, and everybody
mentioned something about Lil Wayne. Yeah, that's right. And that was like, whoa, okay, it came out of nowhere, but I
that's why we have with whatever he said. I probably agree with whatever he
said. I will ignore that completely.
The last 2 years, that nigga has not been the same.
He hasn't.
Maybe longer than that.
But I definitely appreciate y'all for pulling up. And again, thank you, Scuba Steve, for joining me as well. You know, even though he's one of the co-hosts, you know, I always appreciate you pulling up and, you know, bringing the vibes. I know you weren't feeling well, man, but continue to get better. And definitely do what you got to do to, you know, get your strength back up here. With that in mind, guys, I normally do the rundown at the end of the pod, but again, we are running 3 minutes and 37 seconds in at this point. 3 minutes, 3 hours. Good God, 3 hours and 37 minutes in. I'm tired. This is me running off a combined 6 hours of sleep between Thursday and Friday. Because again, Founders Day was January 5th, which was Friday. So yeah, yo to the noobs. I barely got any sleep. So yeah. That being said, with that, I'm gonna let my guests, you know, plug whatever they can, and then we'll close out and sign off.
I guess I'll go first. Again, thank you for letting me be on with you guys tonight. I am Brother X from the Truth and Transparency podcast, with which I host with my wife, the culture scientist, and Mr. Smith, our sound engineer. Just be on the lookout, man. We took a little bit of a break because we had some transitions that we had to do, but we'll be back with new episodes coming soon within the upcoming weeks. Just thank you to the Chaotic Culture Podcast for letting us on, having us on and representing for the podcast. Honestly, just on the mental health note, drink your water, talk to your person, feel your feels, and try to stay positive, man. It's a real hard thing to do, but blessings and many more, and hopefully we'll be able to do more of this in the future.
Thank you once again, man. Thank you once again. Leek.
Yeah, man. It's One Piece Leek of the Worst Generation podcast. More content coming soon from the Worst Generation podcast. Formerly of Anime After Dark. Anime After Dark has finally come to its conclusion. Thank you to everybody that's always supported, always pulled up. It's not the end. Worst Generation podcast still gonna be pumping out content again. Thank you, Kid. Thank you, Chaotic Culture, for having me come on again. I love doing these roundtables. I'm trying to get back into more podcasting that's not anime related. So It Mob, if y'all want to have me on for another ranking show where I can say something slanderous about Keenan and Kel. But yeah, man, I love producing content. So thank y'all for having me.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you joining us once again. And Scuba Steve, you got anything that you want to promote?
Scuba Steve 1428 on all social media. Wake the Dead, man. Make sure y'all go check out the audiobook series that we've been doing. It's been a lot of work, and we are about to get back to work and drop the second season for that. Yeah, man. Other than that, I ain't got nothing. Tune in to It Mob. I mean, shit, if you know who I am, then you know that It Mob is my podcast, and yeah, tune in for that. We can get Leak on for some different conversations that's not anime for sure. Definitely can do that.
Indeed. Well, appreciate you, Scuba Steve. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, of course, you know I got to shout out It Mob as well because I am a part of that podcast. So big shout out to Scuba Steve. And of course, to Shogo High. Definitely big shout out to them. We will be back here should be sometime this week because this episode will appear on Wednesday. So that Friday that comes after this, of course, will be another Shogo High episode that will be held on X/Twitter Spaces. So definitely stay tuned in for that. But with that, let's go ahead and sign off. Be sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Chaotic Culture Podcast on your favorite digital streaming platform. Be sure that you subscribe to the Patreon, of course, for early access to the podcast and bonus episodes of the podcast. You can subscribe at any of the 4 levels listed. Once again, we still continue to appreciate your support. Please be sure that you follow us on Chaotic Culture Podcast on Facebook. Also, please be sure that you follow the Chaotic Culture Podcast on YouTube. We are officially on YouTube and YouTube Music now because Google Podcasts is going to be coming to an end and merge with YouTube. So definitely be sure that you check us out. We will start to drop the actual video podcast on the YouTube channel as well so that you all can check out old interviews as well as some new ones that are coming up as well. But in the meantime, join the Patreon and catch all of the live episodes on our Patreon if you want to see our smiling and beautiful faces. With that, of course, be sure that you follow us on Instagram at Chaotic Culture Pod, and then follow us on X/Twitter at chaotic_culture. You can follow me, Ked the Pro, that's K3D the Pro, on all social media. You can follow Ms. Nasa on all social media at _call me Nasa. You can follow Law on all social media at L.JR_97 on Instagram and Law96_ on X/Twitter. You can follow Sappy on all social media at Scraps14. You can follow Johnny at Jaylee Trey on all social media. And of course, with Scuba Steve, you can follow him on all social media at Scuba Steve 1428. And this has been another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. So until next time, folks, remember, embrace the culture, chaos rules. Be blessed, be safe. God is love. We out.
It's the KKP on your mother flipping airways. Hear the name ringing through the halls and the stairways. You were listening to a pod that can segue. All the latest topics guaranteed to fill your headspace. It's a safe place to voice your opinion. Say what you feel just like you're a kid again. Kid the Pro and friends black as obsidian. Chaotic culture, that's the world we living in. So what's the word?
You are now tuned in to the Chaotic Culture Podcast. And